December the 8th, 2025. Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful, and it's been a few days since we last spoke, so we're going to jump right into this because we got a lot to cover, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the world today. We have earthquakes, we have floods, we have, I don't know if I've heard about tornadoes, we have volcanoes erupting. We have drive-by shootings of popular talk show hosts. Quite a lot going on. And on top of that, we have what's going on with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So we're going to jump right in here. And we're going to start with our boy Donald Trump. Now, I think we'll make it through his posts. He did a fair number. Elon Musk is going to be the long haul today, so we're going to get through these as quickly as we can. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Forgot to mention that. I know I had a pretty good weekend. Very relaxing. It's been a long time since I've actually had a relaxing weekend. Normally we're so busy that we don't have time around the house. We actually got a little bit of cleaning done, which is always nice. Okay, what do we got here? Congratulations to Indiana's tremendous Republican state representatives led by great speaker Todd Houston, bill sponsor Ben Smaltz, and Elections Committee Chairman Tim Wesco, who just overwhelmingly voted to pass their new, much fairer, and improved congressional map. It was my honor to win Indiana 6 times. Okay, he's just going into his stats. Here's the new map. There you go. All right, where that come from? Okay, that's an ad. Today, the CDC... Oh, this is an interesting one. Today, the CDC Vaccine Committee made a very good decision to end their... Oh, no, this isn't the one I was thinking about. I believe they just recalled the mRNA vaccines. The CDC Vaccine Committee made a very good decision to end their hepatitis B vaccine recommendation for babies, the vast majority of whom are at no risk of hepatitis B, a disease that is mostly transmitted sexually or through dirty needles. The American Childhood Vaccine Schedule long required 72 jabs for perfectly healthy babies, far more than any other country in the world and far more than is necessary. In fact, it is ridiculous. Many parents and scientists have been questioning the efficacy of this schedule, as have I. That is why I have just signed a presidential memorandum directing the Department of Health and Human Services to fast-track a comprehensive evaluation of vaccine schedules from other countries around the world and better align the U.S. vaccine schedule, so it is finally rooted in the gold star standard of science and common sense. I am fully confident Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the CDC will get this done quickly and correctly for our nation's children. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Shalom, 10 Bears. Welcome to the show. Let's see what's next. That's same posts. We'll come back to. We're just going to read these headlines he posted. We'll come back to them if we are in short order for content. I don't think we will be. Let's see. Trump honored with FIFA's first peace prize. And then we got this.
Barack Obama had a drone campaign. He fired 560 drone strikes, killed not just terrorists, but killed an American citizen, Anwar al-Awlaki. Did it on the ground, violating sovereignty instead of in international waters. And he regularly did what are called double tap and even triple tap strikes. I interviewed David Shedd, who on my podcast, What the Hell is Going On Today, who was the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency under Obama. And he said, we did double tap strikes all of the time. In fact, we usually had a second Predator in the sky waiting for the intelligence to clear to see if there were any survivors so we could take them out.
Wow.
So this was a regular practice under the Obama administration because they were going after terrorists. Trump has declared these people foreign terrorist organizations. He's using the same authority as the Obama administration.
Now, in terms of how we characterize the fight between the United States and these drug cartels, here's what the DEA Administrator Terry Cole said earlier today.
This is all about saving American citizens and protecting our national security.
All right, so that's basically in a nutshell, that's the 10-second elevator pitch, what this is all about. Democrats say that the Trump administration is desperately trying to make this like, it's Al-Qaeda or it's ISIS. Well, I counted up, about 3,100 Americans died at the hands of Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Last year in this country, it was 80,391 people died of overdose deaths in the United States. So is this or is this not a threat to American national security and to Americans?
If you're killed by a plane or if you're killed by poison, you're equally dead. Right?
True.
And these people are poisoning the American people. This is an act of terrorism. The president has full legal authority to do this. First of all, he designated them foreign terrorist organizations. Then he notified Congress that we were in an armed conflict with those terrorist organizations. Then he had the Office of Legal Counsel prepare a memo setting the parameters for what was legal and what was within the laws of war for carrying out these strikes. And they've been following that. Not a single lawyer has objected.
Wow. Yeah, so this is regarding the uproar from a couple of people about killing survivors, which so they're discussing how it's always been a thing, even under Obama's administration. I believe Trump and Marco Rubio were saying that he has yet to give an order for a double tap. Don't quote me on that, but that was the last thing I heard. So I don't know how I feel about, like killing people. I'm not typically for any kind of violence like that. But at the same time, I am against stopping the drugs from coming into our country. I know that the amount, well, I trust that the amount of drugs are on that boat are what's being reported to be on that boat. And, from time to time, we will drive down to Portland, which is a sanctuary city, and it's a city that all drugs are legal there. They'll let you kill yourself in any way you see fit. And a lot of it is via drugs. And if Trump can stop those drugs from coming into even Portland so that more people will live, more power to him. My understanding is they're left with no choice but to destroy these boats because they've tried capturing them, they've tried chasing them, they've tried capturing them. The only way to stop them is to destroy the boats, and the people that are on these boats know the risks. So if you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So I can't say that I disagree with the decision that they make. All right, what is this? So, whoa, let's see, Mark Thiessen just wrecked Democrats for harping on POTUS war on drugs while staying silent under Obama. War crime? Start with Barack Obama. He had a drone campaign, fired 560 drone strikes, killed not just terrorists, but an American citizen, and did it on the ground instead of international waters. I interviewed David Shedd on my podcast, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency under Obama. He said, "We did double tap strikes all the time. In fact, we usually had a second predator in the sky waiting for the intelligence to clear to see if there were survivors so we could take them out. This was regular practice under the Obama administration because they were going after terrorists. Trump has declared these people a foreign terrorist organization. He's using the same authority as Obama." Boom. That's what that was about. All right, so this is a book endorsement. Actually sounds pretty good. Dr. James Jones, the great White House doctor, has written a fantastic book, Venom and Valor, a White House physician's assistant's battle for survival in the Amazon. Our nation is incredibly proud of brave patriots like Dr. Jones who serve our country with distinction behind the scenes and do what is necessary to keep our nation safe and strong. They are true heroes and an inspiration to us all. Get your copy today. That's a cool name. Venom and Valor. Very voracious venom and valor. Why would Fox and Friends weekend, of all things, put on a stockbroker named Peter Schiff, a Trump-hating loser who has already proven to be wrong. Either the show made a mistake or it is heading in a different direction. He thinks prices are going up when, in fact, they are coming substantially down. Gasoline hit $1.99 a gallon yesterday in certain states and is down big since Biden. Our prices are almost all down. Biden caused the affordability crisis. I'm fixing it. Along with everything else, much of it, like the border, is already fixed. Check out the booker who put this jerk on. Yeah. If you don't know, we have started dual streaming. So we are streaming both horizontally and on YouTube Shorts. So if you see two streams in the feed, that's probably why. One of them will be the YouTube Short 9:16, and the other one is the typical 16:9 format. Feel free to choose between which format you like. My understanding is this is a good way to reach new people because YouTube Shorts, a lot of people just kind of thumb through. So trying it out, seeing how it works. It's no problem to dual stream. The software does it automatically. So let me know which format you guys prefer. If you prefer the 9:16 or the 16:9. I'm typically a 16:9 person myself, even though I'm on the phone, but let me know. All right. Caitlin Collins of Fake News CNN. Always stupid. Here, let's expand this. Just in case there's some goodies under there. There is. Caitlin Collins of Fake News CNN. Always stupid and nasty. Asked me why the new ballroom was costing more money than originally thought 1 year ago. I said because it is going to be double the size, and the quality of finishes and interiors has been brought to the highest level. Also, the column span has been substantially increased for purposes of viewing. It is actually under budget and ahead of schedule, as my jobs always are. It's just much bigger and more beautiful than originally planned. Interestingly, and seldom reported, there are no taxpayer dollars involved. It is being fully paid for by private donations. Fake News CNN and the guy who runs the whole corrupt operation that owns it is one of the worst in the business. Their ratings are so low that they're not even counted or relevant anymore. Make America great again. Ha 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 ha. All right. Afghan watchdog concludes billions in weapons U.S. left behind form core of the Taliban military. Yeah, great. So Obama armed the Taliban military with billions of dollars of the highest brand new tech that was available. Good job. Rider on the red horse, who was given power to take peace from the earth. He did his job. All right, Trump's affordability crusade beats streets with tiny truck solution. I have no idea what this is about. Sounds kind of bizarre. Let's read it. All right, on Wednesday, President Donald Trump announced a comprehensive reset of federal fuel economy standards aiming to ease regulations on the auto industry to boost American manufacturing and reduce costs for consumers. One vehicle in particular will benefit from such regulation reductions: the Asian sensation Kai truck, also known as Kai vans or micro trucks, a category of ultra-compact, lightweight pickup trucks and utility vehicles popular in Asia, especially Japan, South Korea, and parts of Southeast Asia like Malaysia. Trump encountered the tiny Tonka during his October Asia trip, which includes stops in Japan, Southeast and East Asia for trade talks. In Japan, amid negotiations over U.S. exports like Ford F-150 pickup, and which Japan reportedly considered buying as snowplows, to appease Trump, he spotted Kai trucks zipping around narrow streets and described them as very small, really cute, and beautiful. Multiple models would be highly marketable and profitable in the U.S., including the $14,000 Toyota Hilux, the $2,000 micro EVs, or the $4,000 Suzuki Alto. High trucks are typically under 11 feet, 4.5 feet wide, and 6.5 feet tall, a size that lends itself to weaving through city traffic or parking in tight spots. The engines are also smaller. They're limited to. So I know what they're referring to. I wonder if there's any images. I've seen them. They're like little golf carts, but trucks. Matter of fact, I have a neighbor who has one. So many barriers have blocked the vehicle's prominence. They are not outright banned federally, but they occupy a legal gray area in which strict regulations make them challenging to import, register, and drive on public roads. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration standards require crash protection, lighting, and emissions compliance designed for larger vehicles. Kai trucks' small size means they fail side impact and rollover tests without costly modifications. State laws also prevented their success, even modified imports over 25 years old via the classic car loophole are often off limits on public roads, restricted to farms or low speed private use in places like California. Interesting. So he's making it easier for the vehicles to be licensed. Cool. All right, moving on. Trump honored with FIFA's first Peace Prize. Angel families thank Trump in new Thanksgiving video for his border security efforts. We appreciate you. Well, that's sweet. Let's try and watch it. Is this it?
Days after an illegal migrant released by the Biden administration allegedly shot an off-duty CBP officer, the Senate heard from loved ones of migrant crime victims during a hearing on Biden's border betrayal. And that includes Tammy Nobles, who shared the story of her daughter, Kayla Hamilton, who was murdered by an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member with a prior criminal record.
I received the worst news that a parent can ever get, that my newly 20-year-old daughter, Kayla Hamilton, was found deceased with injuries consistent with a homicide. There are no words to describe the heart-wrenching, soul-crushing pain of losing your child so horrifically. Walter Javier Martinez was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S. at the southwest border in Rio Grande City, Texas.
And Tammy joins us now to talk about her experience testifying. And Tammy, on a particularly difficult week for you because tomorrow, July 24th, is your daughter's birthday. And she was taken from you on July 27th, which is this coming Sunday. And I'm sure speaking about this never gets any easier. So tell us about the message that you wanted to convey yesterday.
I just wanted to let everyone know, especially Congress, what is actually happening. You know, what happened to Kayla, and that it didn't have to happen. It could have been prevented if Homeland Security and Health and Human Services would have just made that one phone call to El Salvador. It took the Aberdeen Police Department to make that one phone call to El Salvador to know that he was a known MS-13 gang member and had a criminal record in 2020 for illicit gang activity.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that because Senator John Cornyn yesterday says that he intends to introduce a bill called the Kayla Hamilton Act. Tell us a little bit more about that, and if it was implemented at the time of your daughter's murder, if that would have ever taken place.
Yes, so the Kayla Hamilton Act will require Health and Human Services to do a background check on unaccompanied minor children from the ages of 12 to 17 to see if they had any gang affiliation, any tattoos, and also it will also check all sponsors to see if they are here legally, phone numbers, addresses, social security numbers, because if the Kayla Hamilton Act was in place and they would have done a required background check, they would have known that he was a gang member and he would have never been allowed to enter. And also the other part of it is that he left his sponsor's house and they didn't check and verify who the sponsor was. Yeah. And the scary thing about not checking sponsors is all the younger children coming across the border. Who are they giving these children to? Where are they dropping them off? Who are these sponsors? It also protects them, and also it protects all children. Right. And also.
So this would be a good time to pivot over to this video. I haven't covered T-Supply in a while because I haven't been broadcasting what's going on in Portland and in Chicago for a while. Maybe we should get back to that because things are still tense, more so even than they have been. But T-Supply, he made a video today, which is interesting because we finally have police that are, and this isn't down at the federal building in Portland. This is just with an incident where somebody was following ICE trucks. But what's interesting, and I would like to see, police and ICE asking these people, why are you encouraging murderers and rapists to reside in these sanctuary cities? Why are you protecting them? Because these agents, these ICE agents, that's what they're doing. They're getting people out who are here illegally, who we don't have all their information on. We don't know if they're members of gang members. And we know that in regards to the end times, this is what happens. Is there's going to be a transition from a democracy to from the beast from the sea to the beast from the land, which is a kingdom. So there's going to be some kind of a world order, and very likely the people who are in the country are going to facilitate that. But I just want to point this out because it's this kind of thinking, this kind of mentality where, as Gad Saad says it, it's suicidal empathy. These people think that they are standing up against tyranny and injustice, but what they're doing is they're actually supporting and protecting the people who are here illegally, which is what is going to give way to that transition to the beast from the sea. So let's watch some of T-Supply's video today to just kind of see what I'm talking about here. I want you to see this interaction between this citizen and this cop.
You're investigating what? They are alleging that you were following them and running red lights and harassing them and causing a disturbance.
Okay, get ready for this video. There's a lot happening in Oregon right now, so I'm gonna do my best to try and break this down. We are seeing a lot of opposition right now against Homeland Security.
I move to adopt resolution number 2025-33 declaring an emergency related to the impacts of federal immigration enforcement.
If you're unaware, the city of Salem actually declared a state of emergency due to ICE activity in the area. So we're seeing stuff like that, and of course we're seeing more and more clips come out of the entire state of Oregon as far as opposition against Homeland Security. But the federal government must be paying attention.
Guys, it fucking happened. The FBI just came to my door. I am fucking shaking right now.
According to the FBI, that influencer was reported for some of the stuff she was posting. So we'll watch that clip, but we'll also dig into the other news that's occurring in Oregon as far as the opposition against Homeland Security. Now, if you're sitting here wondering, why do I care about Oregon? Why do I care about Portland? I don't care about this. You probably should care because Oregon is really taking things to a whole new level. Oftentimes we think like Los Angeles, California, that's where there's going to be a lot of pushback. But Oregon, I mean, we have city councils declaring these state of emergencies. I wouldn't be surprised if the entire state somehow declares a state of emergency. So we have a lot to dig into. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, and it also helps others see the videos as well. And I want to make sure people actually see what's going on in this region of the country. Here we go.
Why do you have a gun out? Why do you have a gun out? Why do you have a gun out? What's your name and badge number?
My name is Sergeant Oblack. Hi. My badge number is 58431.
Thank you.
I have a camera on too.
Thank you.
How can I help you?
First of all, I'm not blocking my camera, but you can stay right there and we can talk.
No, I'm going to talk to you, sir.
Thank you. Why are you blocking my camera?
Because I need to talk to you.
I'm right here.
Go inside your vehicle, please.
being suspected of a crime.
You're being detained right now, yes.
By who?
By me.
For what?
I'm telling because I'm investigating.
You're investigating what?
They are alleging that you were following them and running red lights and harassing them and causing a disturbance. Just stay separated because all it does by...
All right, we don't need to watch the full 17 minutes, but the other thing I wanted to show you is this, what's going on in city council meetings.
Related to the impacts of federal immigration enforcement.
Second. We have a motion by Nishioka, second by Nordike. Counselor, to your motion.
Thank you, Mayor Hoy. I think we have all heard a great deal of testimony, and again, thank you all for coming forward and presenting your information. I also appreciate those that have left. We also received written testimony this week and last week, so again, thank you for all of that. I know that this is difficult for all of us, and it is not easy for us as we sit in this chamber trying to figure out how we can help and what we are able to do.
And remember, this is all in reference to ICE. I cannot recall other territories or cities. This is only happening in Oregon right now, to my knowledge, where we are seeing the state of emergencies or a heightened alert to a near state of emergency as far as deportation operations, because I have no idea legally what this even means. I'm just going to be honest with you, but it is happening.
I know that this has impacted me personally. I will add that my husband is American Japanese. His family were interned during the war, so I know that we have a history of similar activities. And I'm sorry.
Is your husband a murderer, a rapist, a member of a gang? Is he here illegally? So probably not the same. So why are you protecting murderers, rapists, and gang members? That's my question to these people. I want them out of our country. We know that they poured over the border. They came out of prisons in Venezuela and other countries. They were intentionally released into the United States. Now, obviously, these things had to happen. I believe that these things need to happen. As far as the full understanding of why, I don't know. But it probably has something to do with the transition from the one system of government around the world to the one under the second beast from Revelation 13, the one with two horns, who enforces the mark of the beasts. But it's just, this is the mentality that's leading towards that. And it's interesting that it's written in the scripture. It's interesting that it's been written in the scripture for 2,000 years.
I'm going to cry.
All right, let's get back to Donald Trump's timeline. I just wanted to show you that's like, what's going on. You have people who are being murdered and killed and why it's happening. People with the mentality who are chasing down and, trying to impede law enforcement from fixing the problem, but it ain't happening. It's not being fixed. So that tells me that is part of the next transition into the next kingdom, that world government that so many of us are aware of that is coming. All right, let's move on. All right, David Marcus, Trump's aggression towards Venezuela, a warning to Putin. All right, we're not going to read these. These will probably take too long. Watch a Coast Guard helicopter sniper disable a go-fast drug vessel in interdiction up. Well, that's another solution to blowing it up. Greg Gutfeld, it took Trump no time to get the D.C. pipe bomber. Yeah. Dr. Oz warns a waltz fraud could cost Minnesota their Medicaid. Cristiano Ronaldo, the great soccer football player, just called to thank me for his tour this week of the White House and Oval Office. What an incredible guy he is. Not only as an athlete, but as a person. You just don't get any better. President Donald J. Trump. DHS disputes Democrats' claim she was pepper sprayed by ICE. Okay. College sports is in big trouble just like I said it would be. A judge with no knowledge or experience ruled, and rather than fighting, the sports reps folded. Can't do that. All right, what is this? Oh, this is a long one. The Baseball Hall of Fame committee is voting on admitting new members tomorrow. And these highly respected owners, executives, writers, and most importantly, Hall of Famers should do the right thing by finally putting Roger Clemens, known as the Rocket, in the Hall. Roger is clearly one of the greatest pitchers of all time with amazing achievements that include winning 354 games, 7 Cy Young Awards, a record by a lot, and playing in 6 World Series, winning 2. The Rocket is second only to another all-time great Hall of Famer, Nolan Ryan, in most strikeouts. Roger Clemens is the only pitcher who has won 300 games to not have the honor of being enshrined in the Hall of Fame, which is a total travesty. The only reason he is not is because of the rumors and innuendo, which were not proven. He never tested positive, and when the Obama DOJ went after him in a criminal case claiming that he did take steroids, Roger, who has always denied taking any drugs, was fully acquitted of all charges. The Rocket, a nickname he earned very early in his career because of his blazing fastball, was just as dominant before those erroneous allegations were leveled against him. I sincerely hope that the committee uses its great judgment. Roger's opponents never proved a thing against him, and he may have the best pitching record, all told, in the history of baseball. And the baseball commissioner has the strength, wisdom, and power to do the right thing and put Roger Clemens in the Baseball Hall of Fame immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Who knew he was so passionate about baseball? Oddly enough, I used to be this passionate when I was a young kid. My dad used to take me out. We used to play baseball together. I used to collect the cards. I used to be able to rattle off the stats and just love going to the games, but never really kept up on it. So kind of reminds me of my childhood to hear Donald Trump, fight for Roger Clemens to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. Is this what I just read? Yeah, that's what I just read. Trump blasts Indiana Republicans who defied redistricting pressure. Let's see. Will John Brennan finally get his just desserts? What? I don't know. Looks like a repost. Why would a real Republican vote against this when Dems have been doing it for years? If they stupidly say no, vote them out of office. They are not worthy, and I will be there to help. Thank you, Indiana. Don't know what that's referring to. I mean, we already read that. I mean, this is obviously them successfully redistricting. I don't know what this is about, though. Why would a real Republican? Oh, this is terrible. Another stabbing by an illegal migrant in Charlotte, North Carolina. What's going on in Charlotte? Democrats are destroying it like everything else, piece by piece. President Donald J. Trump. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. There's your the Tulsa King, if you guys are watching that series. Good old Sylvester Stallone. Congratulations to the amazing honorees who are receiving the Kennedy Center honors. President Donald J. Trump hosted a very special evening in the Oval Office. Watch President Trump deliver remarks at State Department Kennedy Center honors dinner. Yeah, we don't need to watch that. And this is, what was this about? This was a request for compassion and clemency for our parents, Henry and Imelda Kuehler. Oh, we've already read about this many times. Yep. All right. Can you imagine the Democrats under the crooked Joe Biden administration, who always use extreme force and jail time to destroy their political opponent, wanted to put Congressman Henry Kuehler and his wife Imelda in prison for 15 years, which I predicted these radical left lunatics would do. and they never stopped wanting to fulfill this evil quest. The Dems mercilessly went after Henry with everything they had. They were looking to destroy him, his lovely wife, his 2 young daughters, and anyone close to them. When the Democrats overwhelmingly lost the 2024 presidential election and power with it, they, regardless, did everything they could to keep going after the Kuehler family. Yeah, and that's really the key fact here is the Dems, the Democrats, are losing power. I see this as part of that transition. Like, Trump is the fulcrum between administrations. So you've got the beast from the sea, Revelation 13, that beast from the sea. I'm pretty confident. I'm pretty confident that that is a democratic world governance. And that this Trump administration is going to be the final administration before the world transfers to a one world government. Very likely, either like Roman Catholic, Rome, or Islam, or a combination of the two, Chrislam, which is a thing that is developing right now. And they're not happy that they lost power, but I think that's what Trump is doing here. This is the last chance that you have to hear the gospel and cleave to the Lord Jesus Christ. We're running out of time before Christ returns, and you're going to be sealed one way or the other. This seems to be a transition that is sealing people either to God and His Son, to the Father and the Son, or another God. And you don't want to be sealed to another God. You want to be sealed to the Father and the Son. See, they, regardless, did everything they could to keep going after the Kuehler family. The Dems were vicious, and all because Henry strongly wanted, correctly, border security. He was against illegals pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. The congressman didn't want gang members, drug dealers, violent prisoners, people from mental institutions, and yes, even murderers in the good old USA. It was all very unfair what they were doing to him and his family. So much so that his daughters wrote me a beautiful letter about their parents, just posted on Truth. After reading it, I decided, in the interest of justice and based on the daughter's loving requests. See, I hear this time and time again that people who contact him, he gets the important information and acts on it. This is such a kind thing. But Glenn Beck has been coming out and pining over just how amazed he is at Trump's ability to empathize and take care of people. Many times in tears on his show, just apologetic that he misunderstood Trump. Having listened to the wrong people who are attacking him. It started to get to him, but the more he gets to know Donald Trump personally, the more he sees the soft and loving side of him. So if you have any kind of hatred for Donald Trump, I encourage you, spend some time with us. That's one of the whole points for going through his timeline and reading about these things, is get to really know who he is. He is, he's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a father, he's a husband. He has an amazing family. He's built an amazing business. He's proven himself a capable leader, a strong leader, and now he's taking care of America. So we're in this grace window where we have a very short period of time before things get really bad in the world. So now's the time to get off your butt if you're in any way lukewarm, and help seek out after. Get to work looking for the last few people who are holdouts. Maybe there's some people out there who hate Donald Trump and Elon Musk who they're just waiting for you to talk to them and say, look, clearly you're not spending any time listening to them. You're probably listening to what people are saying about them, probably the people who hate them. because that's one of the things that the two witnesses do. They torment the world. So if you're listening to the people they torment, you're going to hear bad things, and it's just going to, plant seeds of hatred in your heart. Nobody needs that. After reading it, I decided in the interest of justice and based on the daughter's loving request that I would give Henry and Imelda a full and complete pardon. I never spoke to the congressman, his wife, or his daughters, but felt very good about fighting for a family that was tormented by a very sick and deranged people. They were treated so badly. I signed the papers and said to the people in the Oval Office that I just did a very good, perhaps life-saving thing. God was very happy with me that day. All those people who think he's the Antichrist, you have no idea the heresy, the false accusations you're making about him. Then it happened. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Congressman Henry Cuellar announced that he will be running for Congress again. In the great state of Texas, a state where I received the highest number of votes ever recorded, as a Democrat continuing to work with the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison, and probably still do. Such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh well. Next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy, President Donald J. Trump. Hey, Fury, welcome to the show. Which live stream is short and which one is the real one? They're both the real one. They're both live. One of them is just the size of a phone, and the other one is the size of a TV screen. You should probably, I think they'll both show up on the channel. If you go to Two Witnesses Live and look on the live tab, they should both show up there. Maybe I'll find a way to indicate which one is the horizontal one and which one's the vertical one. All right. So this is that letter that they wrote. We're not going to read it just for sake of time. We're already almost at an hour. All right. What do we got here?
New Jersey GOP Congressman Jeff Van Drew joins us now with more. Congressman, thank you for being here. Tell us about how that call went and what you think the president needs to do on his messaging.
Oh, the call went great. It's always good to speak with the president. I guess it's going to be going on 7 years that I changed and became a Republican. And always since that time, he was great. And we've developed a friendship. I am so happy that he's going out there. He is a president of the people. He loves working people. Let me be clear. Washington, D.C. is not the culture of America. Washington, D.C. is an incubator for political dysfunction and disease. I don't know how else to say it. And you've got to work there, and you get the job done there, and you get the bills passed. But then you got to get out in the street and talk to real people, the doctors, the pipe fitters, the iron workers, the teachers, just what really makes America move and makes America happen. That's what he does so well. We all remember the amazing rallies and when he went to bodegas and fast food restaurants. I love to see him out there. He does so well with that. I'm so glad to see him in Pennsylvania, a neighboring state to me in New Jersey. And I'm really looking forward to seeing him go around the country and sell what is a real plan for the future of America.
What would you say is the most important thing that Republicans need to be focused on right now to actually improve things for people who, obviously, we've gotten inflation down, but the problem is you've got to catch up with salaries. What do Republicans need to focus on?
Well, remember one thing, the Biden disaster, what he did to this country, it doesn't get fixed in a day. This has been about 9 months. When all of the work that we've done kicks in next year, it's going to be amazing. No taxes on tips or lower taxes on tips, lower taxes on overtime. 85% of seniors not paying any tax on Social Security. When you go and buy a new American car, you're able to write off on your taxes, the interest rate, all that is going to be huge. We're going to have a good year, all the good things we did with businesses. But here's what we must remember. Don't argue with each other. Stop being selfish. Make sure that people understand we're with them. And healthcare. I've talked about this before. We have to give people that bridge. Obamacare is horrible. The ACA has been horrible and awful. But if we're not able to immediately get rid of it for a very short period of time, continue with it while we come up with a much better comprehensive plan, people cannot afford to have huge increases in their health care. That will be a mistake. I've spoken out about that, and I'm going to continue to do so. We have to take care of the American people.
You know, Congressman, I love that you brought that up, because I think that the silver lining of that terrible shutdown that we just went through was people were finally able to see the truth about Obamacare, that it's being completely held up by all these subsidies. It's not affordable. And hopefully it is, as you say, an impetus for the Republicans to come up with a better plan that makes more sense. And I love the idea of the president going out into the country. He's a people person. He needs to tell that story. I mean, you bring such a good point about, you know, when the economy was cranking, it was under the first term of President Trump. It did take about a year and a half before we started feeling the effects of that. So there's that. But I mean, I still remember, Congressman, right before COVID hit, it was a year before, you know, a little less than a year before the election. People thought he was absolutely unbeatable because the economy was so amazing. Why can't he do that again? Of course he can, right?
He can do it again. He's got, and he will. He's excited. He loves people, and people really do love him. It's so much fun when he gets out there, but it's also good. We can talk about what the real issues are and what's really going on. We were on a path to destruction 4 years ago with President Biden in charge. This is just so much better. We can really do this thing. We can win. We shouldn't give up. We have to come together and really, again, make America great again. We're going to do it. We can do it.
Congressman, we love that you have the stockings hung and the nutcrackers out in the Christmas spirit. Merry Christmas, and thank you for taking time.
Thank you. I'm ready for it. Thank you.
Thanks, Congressman.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, this guy and his energy. So he's going on a tour around the country. It seems like maybe it's limited to a week or so, but he's starting in Pennsylvania, where the assassination attempt was. I mean, the balls on this guy, seriously. Like, he's not intimidated. Like, he's starting back where somebody tried to kill him. And he's going a cross-country tour about the economy. Utterly amazing. I mean, maybe he misses the big arenas full of people. Maybe he's preparing for the next administration. I don't know what he's thinking, but the energy, and it amazes me that he's going to do that. So interesting. Interesting. Yeah, they're making Fury there. I know that there were some big changes on YouTube this week. They're switching the way that they do their algorithm. Apparently, they're working on fighting against AI videos. So that might be why you didn't get notifications. Interesting.
Border Czar Tom Homan joining us now. Good morning, Tom. I want to get right to this horrific attack in Charlotte. Now, Charlotte's mayor, who has opposed your efforts to crack down with ICE there, put this statement out about this tragedy, saying there are several aspects of public safety that are outside of the city's jurisdiction, including immigration policy and enforcement, but we will continue to focus on public safety and ensuring a safe and vibrant community. What's your reaction, sir?
I say prove it. Prove it. Let your local law enforcement and your state law, let the state law enforcement, mostly her local law enforcement, let them walk side by side with ICE and Border Patrol as they focus on criminal aliens in her city. I mean, as a mayor, her number one responsibility is protection of her communities and to lower the crime. President Trump, under President Trump's leadership, we've already dropped crime in a lot of these major cities because of the actions of ICE out there, concentrating on the worst of the worst. So, put your actions where your words are. Put your officers out there.
Concentrating on the worst of the worst.
We're not asking them to be immigration officers. We're asking them to help us locate and remove illegal aliens who are public safety threats in our city.
And, you know, Tom, we have talked over the course of the years about known gotaways. This illegal alien criminal, Oscar Solorzano, apparently deported twice, came back a third time as a gotaway with more than 2 million known gotaways in the country. This is exactly the sort of thing we worried about. And it's remarkable. Solorzano had a prior conviction for robbery and then additional arrests for aggravated battery.
See, these are the kind of people that we want out of the country. This is who ICE is focusing on first. And yet you still have these people that are harassing ICE. And I get it. Like if they were rounding up nonviolent criminals, if they were rounding up, peaceful people, like maybe they were doing under the Biden administration or like they're doing in Europe right now, to where you just say the wrong thing on social media and they're rounding you up for jail. I could see why people would be so upset and wanting to stand up and harass them. But the thing is you're in a free country. Like where else can you do that? And yet it really shows the type of people that they are. To me, it seems demonic. It seems like these are demonic people who are trying to impede, the law enforcement, who are getting really bad people out. Like this guy, this Honduran illegal alien who, had he been removed from the country and kept out, that girl wouldn't have been stabbed.
Battery here in the U.S., and yet he's here. How imperative is it now that your men and women of ICE and Border Patrol continue to try and find not only the ones we know about, but the known gotaways that pose this type of threat?
Well, thank God President Trump's in the Oval Office, because when we came in, we knew there's over 600,000 illegal aliens with a criminal record walking the streets of this country. And you're right, Griff, over 2 million known gotaways. These are more than 2 million people who crossed the border under Joe Biden and got away. They weren't fingerprinted. They weren't vetted. They paid more to get away. They didn't just turn themselves in the Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to a city and get a free hotel room and free medical care. They paid more to get away. And why is that? Because they didn't want to be fingerprinted. They didn't want to be invited because they're gang members. They're criminal aliens. Could be from a terrorist sponsored country. So over 2 million. So this is what President Trump's committed to. We're working with ICE and DOJ to locate every one of these criminals and remove them from this country. That would not have happened if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was president. President Trump's a game changer.
That's the thing is if Joe Biden continued to be president, the whole world would be in trouble. Look at what's going on in all of the countries around the world. Look at what's going on in Europe, in the UK. It's terrible. And it's not just limited to the UK. It's the other countries as well. Australia, Ukraine, Russia, where there's conflict, they're not immune from these things. It's like the whole world is on fire right now. And America, at least you have a chance of avoiding the tribulation. But, how many murderers are there in this country right now? They need to get them out.
And like I said before, over a couple 100,000 criminal aliens have already been removed, and we're just getting started.
Tom, some of the most innocent victims of the Biden border crisis are the unaccompanied children, the some 300,000 that were either lost by the Biden administration or were placed with unvetted sponsors. You have an update on this administration's effort to try and rescue those children. What can you tell us?
Over 500,000 children were smuggled in this country under Joe Biden. They released them to unvetted sponsors. They lost track of 300,000. Wow. President Trump committed on day one that we will do everything we can to find every one of these children. We know many are in sex trafficking, many are in forced labor, many are being abused. I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
62,000. That is a news-breaking number right there. I know you continue. And, you know, when we talk about this, Tom, and you and I have talked off camera about this, some of the most painful experiences I had on the border was when these smugglers, these cartels would just drop children 3, 4, 5 years old on the other side of the border with nothing other than a name and a phone number written on a piece of paper stuck to these unaccompanied children. Here's a flashback of one of those moments down in Mission, Texas in March of 2023. We've just rolled up on migrants that have crossed the river and given themselves up. A woman found a young child by himself, the cord around his neck, instructing the border officials to send him to Louisiana. The child will get special attention as they try and figure out who he is. It's just heartbreaking to see that. And this is Texas DPS Sergeant Lupe Casares that had to then try and figure out what to do with this poor child who had no idea where he was or where he would end up. Wow. Tom, this is so important.
Well, look, bottom line is, under Joe Biden, the Democrats want to attack President Trump every day. Every day they're attacking President Trump. They are complicit. For 4 years this has happened. Sex trafficking, historic highs. Children crossing the border, historic highs. Migrant deaths crossing the border, historic highs. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl under Joe Biden because of that open border. Like or love President Trump, you got to admit, this man has shown every day he's saving America. Yeah. Because of his actions on the border, we had the most secure border in history of this nation. Secure border ever. Lowest number of crossings in history. And you know, defying 64,000 missing children. 0 releases in 7 months. Because of that secure border, less fentanyl is coming across to kill Americans. Less migrants are dying making that journey. President Trump saving America one day at a time, and I'm just proud to be a part of his administration.
62,000 rescued children, proving that a secure border is actually a safer border. Borders are Tom Homan. Thank you for taking time.
Yep.
All right. You got it. Thanks for having me.
Yep. It's nice to have a secure border. Unfortunately, I think the damage is already done. The question is how much damage was done, and when do we see the fruit of that evil action? All right, Miami's mayor race is Tuesday. It is a big and important race. Vote for Republican Gonzalez. He is fantastic. You can also vote today. Make America great again. Did we watch this one already? No, this one seems like a new one. Maybe. It won't play. Nope. Yeah, it's broke. Well,
it's gotten so bad with the roiling scandals going on in Minnesota that he has either turned a blind eye to, or for some reason has turned a blind eye to. That even some of his allies are saying that his political career is over. Former Minnesota State Senator and political analyst in Minnesota. This is, who is this? Ember Reichgott Jung, saying he is clearly vulnerable and, in my view, is riskier than any Democratic candidate that might run. Anonymous longtime ally of Waltz's in Minnesota, a different person, said, it's clearly a real vulnerability. Even suburban dads would bring it up to me over the summer.
Which is interesting because this news of this fraud has been circling around Minnesota for a while, but it's really broken open, and we're seeing the scale of it. It's now the biggest fraud case in America. Over $1 billion. There's probably more to come, more things to come out of this as well. Was it incompetence? Was there some skimming of money off the top, and sort of putting a blind eye to it? We don't know. But the investigation is going to continue. The DOJ has promised to get to the bottom of this. But, Griff, everyone's trying to wash their hands of all of this. They're going to throw the Democrats in Minnesota are throwing Tim Walz under the bus and saying, that's on him. We don't know how far this goes.
Well, the question is whether or not Walz's administration was at best incompetent or at worst complicit in allowing this unprecedented fraud going on. Meanwhile, this triggered the Trump administration to go.
All right, well, we'll just summarize the rest of this video because we're at the 1 hour mark and we're not even through Donald Trump's timeline yet. I think we're close to the top. But this is in regards to Tim Walz and what's happening with the Somali scandals and the autism and the fraud and the billions of dollars that were fraudulently stolen from taxpayers. And his own party is doubting whether he should run again. I think the answer is no. Let's move on. Miami's mayor. Okay, we already just read that one. This is the letter. Can you imagine the Democrats? Let's see. Can you imagine the Democrats under crooked Joe Biden administration who always use extreme force to jail? Oh, so this is about Henry Cuellar. We already read this one. This is a double post. This is the letter his daughters wrote. Roger Clemens, who won 354 games, went through his own witch hunt. He was acquitted of all charges. If he doesn't get into the Hall of Fame, he should sue the hell out of the Major League Baseball, President Donald J. Trump. It was the Obama Department of Justice, of course, that viciously went after the great Roger Clemens. Apparently he's passionate about Roger this weekend. Yeah, they did. They shot at Tim Pool this weekend. Tim Pool is actually doing his show right now. He's been talking about it all day. I don't know what their final decision is, but Timcast IRL may end. The last show may be the 19th. From what I've gathered, they've been doing an evaluation. No matter what they do, they can't hide their location and they can't secure the premises in the way that they're currently doing their show. Which their business model is they have 3 to 5 people fly in every single day. So 3 to 5 times a day, they're giving out their address. So they don't know if it's a guest who's leaking their information or if people are just getting information in another clever way. But he said there's something in the works. I'm guessing there's probably an invitation to use a secure studio somewhere to where they're much deeper in a building, maybe higher up in a building or something of that matter. But yeah, so definitely big changes potentially coming to Tim Pool because the death threats are ramping up. People don't want the truth to be told. They look at people who tell the truth as enemies, which is to be expected in the end times. Matthew 24, Jesus told us about these things before they would happen. Yes, and I know that if you don't believe we're in the end times, that these kind of things supposedly have happened for the last 2,000 years. There's a lot that is different this time around. There's a lot of information that suggests that we are at the end of seal number 4. Now, that might be a shock to you if you've never heard me say that before, but that's how much stuff has happened to where, we've gone through events that match scripture fulfillment, prophecy fulfillment. There's just a lot. There's, hundreds of things that have been fulfilled that indicate that's where we might be. We could very well be looking at the opening of seal number 5 as soon as February. And that's not unique to me. Matter of fact, I meant to show this Jesus 2027 last time I was talking about the timeline, because I updated my timeline to include the 2 timelines that I'm looking at. But so this is somebody he's Korean, and he studies the stars like I do, and he noticed the similar patterns in the eclipses. He doesn't specifically associate the eclipses with the seals opening, but the eclipses that are associated with the seals opening are on his chart here. What he noticed is the mirror image, how you've got the eclipses that are going this way, and you can see like he's got where they cover in the world. So, this eclipse was going from here to here, here to here, here to here, here and here. And then after this date, they start to reverse. They go this way and this way and this way and then this way. You can see how it's a mirror image. So he's pointing out what he calls it a decalcomania. The standard English word is mirror image. It's also known as a chiastic structure, to where like your body is a chiastic structure, to where your left hand mirrors your right hand. So yeah, I'm not the only one who's pointed this out. So this is called Messiah, or no, Jesus2027.com. This is a good website to bookmark because he's got a lot of information on here, with why he thinks Jesus is going to return in 2027. As for me, I think what he's recognizing is the seals being opened. So this is our timeline here, to where we're about where this green line is there in the middle up top. And then the candidates I have are on the right here, in orange. So it looks, I'm guessing that seal number 5 is going to open in February 2017. Seal number 6 would be August 12th of 2026. And what's interesting about that is that's actually an acceleration of my timeline. So I have 2 timelines here. I have one at the top. I wish I could point to it, but on this particular screen, it doesn't pass through the mouse. The timeline at the top it goes from 2017 to 2031. It's a 14-year period of time, and it's based on the anchor point of the Revelation 12 sign that happened in 2017, September 23rd, 2017. 2 days before that was what's called Tishri 1, or the beginning of the Hebrew New Year. So what this does is the timeline, just for symmetrical. I'm a symmetrical guy. I like convenient groupings of things. So it goes from Tishri 1 to Tishri 1, just so we have a period of time to observe. So we've covered on this channel before that the Revelation 12 sign is without a doubt the sign that's talked about in the book of Revelation. We have gone through and looked at all of the alignments. If you've never seen the alignment, this is what the alignment looks like. This alignment only happens on this one day. People will misunderstand, will erroneously say that this sign happens at some interval, whether it's like 12 years or every year, or they come up with some number and say that it happens all the time. It doesn't. As described in the book of Revelation, it only ever happens on this day. And we've gone through and we've looked at every single one of the candidates. There is one candidate that's very close, which is in like 432 AD, but it still does not match as perfectly as this one does. So for all intents and purposes, this is when the book of Revelation starts. So you've got an anchor point here, and we've had so many different events that line up with the fulfillment of the book of Revelation that, I've got a very small list. This is not the full complete list. This is just the summary of the things that have occurred, basically the opening of the seals. So that puts us right about there where that green line is. So in order to be, if you take into account like all the time and half a time, the 2,600 days, the 1,335 days, the 1,290 days, all of those different counts, that's what gets you to about 2031. But if you go based on the seals opening, that are talked about in Revelation 6, 7, and 8, and 9, it's more symmetrical. So this would be the symmetrical one. So we're basically watching 2 different timelines. The earliest of which has seal number 6 opening in August 12th, 2026. So I think that's probably why things are heating up. One of the issues I have with this timeline though is if Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses, that would put their 1,260 days. Well, I guess it would put it right before seal number 7. Because if you see here, you've got, if you count from the start of seal number 4, which would line up with Revelation 12, where it talks about pursuing the woman for a time and a half a time. And then also Revelation 13 that talks about the beast being granted the authority to persecute the saints for 42 months. It would make sense that this would be the end of the 1,260 days. I'm reluctant to look at this count as the end of the 1,260 days, because Donald Trump and Elon, I mean, I guess you could say that they were both touched by what happened with the Al-Aqsa flood, and maybe that's when God started the count of the 1,260 days. Lord knows they've probably been posting and talking on their respective platforms since then, because that's one of the two things that's very consistent about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. There's no shortage of content between the two of them. But I know I'm kind of rambling here, but just for those who are new, who may not know where we are on the timeline and what the heck I'm talking about with all this stuff, we're in the end times. Things are ramping up because we're getting close to seal number 5 opening up. As far as when the two witnesses are done, it could either be in 2027, before seal number 7, or it could be in 2028, sometime after seal number 7. The time, so this is the one that I don't know, if I were a betting man, that's not even, I don't know, I'm betting on all of these, actually. I'm watching all of them. But where in the title of the videos, the count that I use, because if you'll notice today is like 323 days out of the 1,260, that is based on January 20th, 2025, because that is when Donald Trump and Elon Musk officially started working together, because Donald Trump, that was the first day in office as president, and Elon Musk joined him as the head of the Department of Government Efficiency. But, I mean, it could go back. You could start the counting from the Al-Aqsa flood. So I've got them all on here just because I ain't sure. I'm a data-driven guy. I try and extract understanding after the things have happened. I don't pretend to have any divine knowledge about, anything other than what I can observe. That's what you're going to get from this channel. If this is the kind of content you like, somebody who's, dead honest with you, that I'm telling you when I'm going to be wrong. I don't know if I'm right. We're just observing the things that are. These are the things that have happened, and it seems as though they line up with fulfillment of prophecy, which is why we're doing what we're doing. All right, let's get back to Donald Trump here. All right. While the United States has other methods of charging tariffs, he had a big cabinet meeting about this today, kind of. While the United States has other methods of charging tariffs against foreign countries, many of whom have, for years, taken advantage of our nation, the current method of tariffing before the United States Supreme Court is far more direct, less cumbersome, and much faster. All ingredients necessary for a strong and decisive national security result. Strong and national security result, speed, power, and certainty are at all times important factors in getting the job done in a lasting and victorious manner. I have settled 8 wars in 10 months. It's actually, I think it's 9 wars now, but we'll just stick with what he posted here. I have settled 8 wars in 10 months because of the rights clearly given to the President of the United States. If countries didn't think these rights existed, they would have said so, loud and clear. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Has the Supreme Court still not made their decision on whether he can leverage tariffs? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. I would think that would be the number one thing he'd be talking about as soon as they rule, but who knows? There must be only one rule book if we are going to continue to lead in AI. We are beating all countries at this point in the race, but that won't last long if we are going to have 50 states. Many of them bad actors involved in rules and approval process. There can be no doubt about this. AI will be destroyed in its infancy. I will be doing a one rule executive order this week. You can't expect a company to get 50 approvals every time they want to do something. That will never work. Yeah, agreed. Okay, more about Marjorie. The only reason Marjorie Taylor Greene turns brown under stress, he's so terrible, went bad is that she was jilted by the President of the United States. Certainly not the first time she has been jilted. Too much work, not enough time, and her ideas are now really bad. She sort of reminds me of a rotten apple. Marjorie is not America First or MAGA because nobody could have changed her views so fast. And her new viewers are those of a very dumb person. Jeez. That was proven last night when washed up Trump-hating 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl, who still owes me an apology for when she attacked me on the show with serious conviction that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was produced by Russia, not Hunter himself, totally proven wrong, interviewed a very poorly prepared traitor who, in her confusion, made many really stupid statements. My real problem with the show, however, wasn't the low IQ traitor. It was the new ownership of 60 Minutes Paramount would allow a show like this to air. They are no better than the old ownership, who just paid me millions of dollars for fake reporting about your favorite president, me. This guy. No wonder why he torments them. Since they brought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. Oh well, far worse things could happen. P.S. I hereby demand a complete and total apology, though far too late to be meaningful, from Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes for her incorrect and libelous statements about Hunter's laptop. President DJG. Wow. Good Lord. All right. Impotent Europeans can only fume as Trump rightly. Whoops. I did not mean to go there. Impotent Europeans can only fume as Trump rightly sidelines them from the UK deal. This is about China. I have informed President Xi of China that the United States will allow NVIDIA to ship its H200 products to approved customers in China and other countries under conditions that allow for continued strong national security. President Xi responded positively. 25% will be paid to the United States of America. This policy will support American jobs, strengthen U.S. manufacturing, and benefit American taxpayers. The Biden administration forced our great companies to spend billions of dollars building degraded products that nobody wanted. A terrible idea that slowed innovation and hurt the American worker. That era is over. We will protect national security, create American jobs, and keep America's lead in AI. NVIDIA's U.S. customers are already moving forward with their incredible, highly advanced Blackwell chips, and soon, Rubin, neither of which are part of the deal. My administration will always put America first. The Department of Commerce is finalizing the details, and the same approach will apply to AMD, Intel, and other great American countries. Make America great again. Huh. Looks like the last post. Mexico continues to violate our comprehensive water treaty, and this violation is seriously hurting our beautiful Texas crops and livestock. Mexico still owes the U.S. over 800,000 acre-feet of waters for failing to comply with our treaty over the past 5 years. The U.S. needs Mexico to release 200,000 acre-feet of water before December 31st. The rest must come soon after. As of now, Mexico is not responding, and it is very unfair to our U.S. farmers who deserve this much-needed water. That is why I have authorized documentation to impose a 5% tariff on Mexico if this water isn't released immediately. The longer Mexico takes to release the water, the more our farmers are hurt. Mexico has an obligation to fix this now. Thank you for your attention to this matter. The dude is a good leader. I mean, like, he wields leverage like a master. Unbelievable. All right, now let's see what else he got up to today. So this was a cabinet meeting where he's talking about farmers. I thought you guys might enjoy.
Country and all of the other. So,
whoops.
26, as we have fought to bring in whose priority the world gets to.
I have a feeling you love your children, but the estate tax is a very big thing. So you don't have estate tax, you die, you leave your farm or whatever, or small business to your children. You don't have to pay estate tax. It seems to affect the farmer more than anybody else, because you can have a farm that's very valuable, and therefore you have to pay a big tax, but it's not a big value in terms of cash. Maximizing domestic farm production is a big part of how we will make America affordable again and bring down grocery prices for American families. And again, these are prices that we inherited. When I left, we were doing incredible. In 4 years, what they've done to this country and so many, and not even mentioning the border and the criminals allowed into our country.
You know, as a farmer, I can actually speak to this. So under the Trump administration, his first term, we had probably 1,500 livestock on our farm. Since the Biden administration, I think we have 150. That's what the Biden administration did to our farm. So I can empathize with how painful. And I tried to start a farm business, an online business, in order to help farmers, and it was an uphill battle the entire time. The business didn't succeed. We were actually getting in the process of closing it down. So anything he can do to help the American farmer is much appreciated.
And all of the other. So I just want to say it's a tremendous honor being with you. I'd now like to ask Secretary Rollins to provide some of the details, followed by Secretary Bessent, Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, Senator Bozeman, Representative Scott, and then we go to a couple of the farmers' representatives, but we'll all get involved a little bit. You can speak. Anybody is shy to speak in front of the press, and I don't blame you if that's the case, but farmers, Court Holub and Merrill Kennedy will say a few words also, and then we'll have a little discussion, okay? Madam Secretary.
Thank you to the greatest boss in the world for a long time now. It's just an honor to be here. I'm going to keep my comments very short because I really want to make sure that you and the world gets to hear from our farmers. So a couple of quick points. Number one, this country and our farm economy is facing a crisis that we inherited that most of these farmers have not seen in their lifetime. Profitability is down. It's just one crisis after another. When we came into office, sir, when you did and you were sworn in on January the 20th, as you mentioned, not one new trade deal had been struck in 4 years. The cost of inputs for our farmers, fertilizer up 36%, manual labor up 47%, interest rates up 73%. When you combine the cost of inputs for our farmers married to no new trade deals, and then you're facing an administration whose priorities were DEI, climate change, putting the farmer aside. I mean, it was an absolute war on agriculture and on our rural communities. That all changed on January 20th. So as, sir, we are working, and you have been just so resolute. I mean, these are our people. Rural America is the fabric of our country. This is the way of life that preserves the American dream for the next 250 years as we celebrate the first 250 years. So we began to go to work immediately. immediately. What these elected officials sitting across from us did with the One Big Beautiful Bill, with a lot of help and direction from you, was the largest investment in rural America in any of our lifetimes. We will begin to see that effectuated next year in 2026. As we have fought to bring input costs down, you have talked about, and even this weekend did an executive order, signed one, on looking into the reason that so much of these costs have been driven up over and over. Equipment, again, fertilizer, seed, et cetera, et cetera. We have to make sure we understand why that is. And then the continuing of the additional trade deals across the world. And no longer will America be held and beholden to the regime of other countries' tariff infrastructure. Instead, we are moving our products out across the world. Having said that, and we have been listening to the farmers for the last 10 months, 11 months, sir, that the bridge that is needed to get from the last administration and what basically happened under the last president and the last U.S. Department of Agriculture to this new golden age for farmers, where instead of farming for government checks, they can farm to feed their family and sell their products and pass it on to the next generation, that this bridge is absolutely necessary based on where we are right now. So as the president said, we are very pleased to announce that today we are going to be effectuating an $11 billion bridge payment to our farmers. The money will move by February 28th of 2026, but by the end of this month, so just in the next couple of weeks, every farmer that is able to apply for it will know exactly what that number looks like. So as you are going to your lender, as you are working to ensure and understanding what you can plant for next year, you will have that number in hand. And we will continue to talk to our farmers, continue to understand exactly what this looks like and what is necessary. The final thing I'll say is
12 billion.
Well, we're holding $1 billion back. So today we are announcing $11 billion. We are holding $1 billion back just to ensure that we are covering. So today's announcement covers all of our row crops,
It boggles my mind the detail that he can hold in his brain. He just thought he was correcting her because she announced 11 billion, but he's like, wait a minute, isn't it 12 billion? Well, they're holding 1 billion back.
But some specialty crops and others that we are still working with to best understand where they are in the farm economy and ensure that we're making every forward-moving position that we need to. And then finally, as we move to this new golden age for agriculture and for rural America, as we continue to fight for these farmers and ranchers, their way of life, and those that are represented here represent hundreds of thousands of farmers across this country. Just know that this president, I have never been around anyone who every time we talk, he asks, how are my farmers? Every single time. So we will never stop fighting. We will make sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure the next 250 years is just as bright, if not brighter, than the last. So thank you, sir.
Brooke. Thank you. And this money would not be possible without tariffs. The tariffs are taking in, hundreds of billions of dollars, and we're giving some up to the farmers because they were mistreated by other countries for, I don't know, maybe right reasons, maybe wrong reasons. They weren't. They were trying to show us something, and it's really worked out really well. But because of the tariffs, this is possible. The other thing I'd like to add before going to Scott, and I think it's very important, we're going to also give the tractor companies, John Deere and all of the companies that make the equipment, we're going to take off a lot of the environmental restrictions that they have on machinery. It's ridiculous. I know because I buy a lot of that machinery for different things. We have a lot of big clubs with, hundreds, thousands of acres. And I buy a lot of stuff, and you buy it, it's got so much equipment on it for the environmental, it doesn't do anything, except it makes the equipment much more expensive and much more complicated to work. And it's not as good as the old days. And we're going to take a lot of that nonsense off of the equipment, which is going to reduce, and we're going to do it, and we're going to say you're going to reduce the prices. We're not going to do it and they're not going to reduce. They're going to have to reduce their prices because farming equipment has gotten too expensive. And a lot of the reason is because they put these environmental excesses on the equipment.
They do.
Which don't do a damn thing except make it complicated, make it impractical.
Yep.
And you really have to be in many cases, you need about 185 IQ to turn on a lawnmower. Now, so we're going to take that
It makes
off,
it very hard to use
crap
the
off
equipment.
that they put on Biden mostly, and we're going to take that off. So that's going to make that'll bring down the equipment prices a lot.
That's right.
And we're going to do that immediately. You're going to work with Lee Zeldin, who's not here. He's doing a fantastic job, and Lee is going to work that out. And that would be most of it. It's crazy. The machines, they're always under repair because they're so complicated that you can't fix them. The old days you used to fix it yourself. Now you can't do that. You have to be a PhD from, let's say, MIT. Okay, so we're going to get that done. Scott, please go ahead.
Good. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the farmers to join us today. And I will tell all of you here that when either in person or when we are on a call with President Xi, the first thing the president asking for is more soybean purchases. We don't talk about geopolitics. We don't talk about trade. It's about soybean
We
purchases.
don't even say hello. We immediately start. Soybean. We start with the soybean, please.
Could you do a little? It's always could you do a little more? So, and I think President Xi has heard President Trump. This group represents an American way of life that has fed our nation and its spirit for hundreds of years. You are the caretakers of the most productive agricultural country on earth. You drive hundreds of billions of dollars in exports, support millions of jobs, and keep America's economy running strong. And this administration is committed to keeping it that way. By putting farmers first, President Trump is ushering in a new golden age for agriculture. The President's $11 billion relief package for America's farmers comes at a critical time. These direct payments will give producers the breathing room they need to market this year's harvest and plan for next season.
I didn't actually listen to his report earlier. It sounds like he's just repeating what's already been announced, that there's payments going to farmers to help ease some of their troubles. We've since moved away from farming ourselves because we just lost thousands, tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to maintain the farm during the Biden administration. We lost our asses on that. So thankfully, we don't need it to survive, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see what it is that they're if they're giving. Is it a forgivable loan? Is it a grant? If it's a grant, I don't know. We may start the farm back up again, but we'll see. Okay, let's move on. We are already at an hour and a half, and we need to move on to our guy Elon Musk. So, starting the next segment on Elon Musk, I'm going to switch over to him. There we go. Refresh to get the latest. Switch the video over here. Oh, we got some questions over here. Before we start, so where's the other witness? So 2 witnesses. So Elon Musk, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They're the 2 most powerful men in the world who are tormenting the world, who tick the most boxes when it comes to the 2 witnesses. There's not a whole lot written about the 2 witnesses. Which makes it very hard to really nail down who the 2 witnesses are. Basically, what we know about the 2 witnesses are in Zechariah 4, where they are referred to as the 2 olive trees who are feeding the oil into the menorah, and the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the Lord of the whole earth. That's all that's said about them, Zechariah 4. And then Revelation 11 talks about the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands, which it's interesting because if you've read the book of Revelation, it actually talks about the 7 lampstands that surround the Son of Man, with letters addressed to 7 churches who were to understand as the 7 lampstands. Out of the 7 lampstands, 2 of them have nothing to repent from before Christ returns. 5 of them, on the other hand, have things they need to fix before Jesus comes back. And so it's possible in Revelation 11, when it says that the 2 witnesses are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands, that it could be referring to 2 men who are leading 2 groups of people. They could be 2 men. It's very ambiguous. That's the problem. And a couple of the other attributes make it seem as though the two witnesses could be men like Elijah and Moses, Enoch and Elijah, Zerubbabel and Joseph, different men from, the scripture, who seem to have some of the attributes. So some of the attributes are things like controlling the weather, controlling the plagues, burning men with fire. That's very much an Elijah thing. Controlling the weather, also an Elijah thing. Controlling the plagues, a Moses thing. But there's a couple of key things that are indicative. One is the two men torment those who are on the whole world, who are in the whole world. So they stand beside the Lord of the whole earth, which means that these are two strong, powerful men who are not going to me. I don't want to presume that it's what it means, but in my opinion, when it says that these are the two anointed who stand beside the Lord of the whole earth, it seems to me as though it's two public figures who are going to, be prominent during this period of time. Which is why I look at the two most powerful men who are currently fighting for freedom right now. You have Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And then a couple of the other things, it says that says they're unkillable, basically. Anyone who would intend to harm them, they must be, and the harm is used in two different ways. One seems to be reputational harm, and the other one is physical harm. So it seems as though these two men are unkillable for at least 1,260 days, because at the end of that time period, they're killed. And it seems like they burn their enemies with fire, which is interesting. Fire doesn't necessarily mean, a literal fire would burn, but a figurative fire could be, the attitude that is so tormenting to people, speaking the truth. Speaking the truth tends to torment people who don't want to hear the truth, who just want to hate. So there's really not a lot of attributes that we have to work with. So the reason I chose Donald Trump and Elon Musk is because they're both the most powerful men in the world right now, and they both are standing up for truth and justice. Now, you may have your doubts about whether they stand up for truth and justice. You may, believe a conspiracy theory that they're really evil men pretending to be just. You may even believe that they're the Antichrist and the false prophet. I have my reasons for disagreeing with all of those. And the purpose of this channel is to echo the prophecy of the two witnesses for 1,260 days. And that's another one of the attributes that, if I'm wrong about Donald Trump and Elon Musk, there will be a break in that 1,260 days. And so far, there hasn't been a break. They continue to provide content every single day, pointing out atrocities and speaking the truth. So, if this continues for 3.5 years, there's a high likelihood that we might be right. So I understand. As far as I know, I'm the only guy on the internet. I could be wrong. But as far as I know, I'm the only guy on the internet who's got the balls to say that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses. And I understand how crazy that statement sounds, but I don't care. I'm not working for anybody's approval. I just speak what I see. And these two men are standing up for truth and justice, and it pisses people off. And there's a lot of people who want to hate them, both, on the left and the right. I know a lot of Christians who think that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the Antichrist and the false prophet. As a matter of fact, even, prominent pastors like Jack Hibbs has been coming out talking about the Antichrist. Here, let's
we're talking about the
let's look at this video here. This is something that came up. They're describing people that they're describing the Antichrist, and it's 100% a lie. Here, check this out.
Antichrist. Will the Jews be accepting a Muslim Antichrist? The second beast we're talking about, this is the false prophet. This machine, this AI machine thing, appears to have a breath. A mark on their right hand, why not the left hand? What if you don't have a right hand? But could it be possible that the Antichrist is alive somewhere today? It's a number of a man. His number is 666.
I think this is the
Hey,
one.
everybody, this is a big pickup from our last time together. I hope that you are excited to fit. In California here, a lot of people, I'm not kidding when I say this. In fact, people asked me this last night at a service. They said, isn't Gavin Newsom the Antichrist? And everybody started laughing. I mean, everybody started laughing, and for good reason. The Antichrist is going to be
This is what I want you to pay attention to, because this is 100% a lie.
Incredibly brilliant political player.
That's not written anywhere in the scripture. He's making that up. That is a very common narrative that is not written in the scripture. Well, he may not be making it up, but he's repeating it.
He's going to have policy. He's going to have plans. Daniel tells us that the Antichrist will deceive the world by peace and prosperity for the first 3.5 years.
That is not what Daniel says.
So Gavin Newsom may have an impressive height. He's a tall guy. He's got awesome hair. Gavin Newsom sounds like Batman, which I think
Seriously, awesome hair. Seriously,
is very cool. He should play Batman. But then he'd have to stop playing King. I don't know how that would work out. But no, Gavin Newsom's not the Antichrist. The Antichrist is going to be dangerously persuasive, cunning. Again, the book of Daniel tells us that he's going to be a man of intrigue. He'll be able to solve. The word in Hebrew implies that he will be able to solve puzzles. That is interesting because the New Testament Gospels in the Olivet Discourse, Jesus tells us that the world will be in a state of perplexity with no way out. That's when the Antichrist comes on the scene and answers the economic and political woes of the world.
All right, so you can watch the rest of this, but this is, and I'm not picking on Jack Hibbs here, but I want to point out that number one, the study of the word Antichrist is one of the easiest studies to do in the Bible. So there is no excuse for lying like this. This is a bald-faced lie, in my opinion. The word Antichrist is only used 5 times in 4 places in the Bible. The word only appears 5 times in 4 different places in the Bible, and all of those places are in 1st and 2nd John. And it is very specific what the attributes are of the Antichrist. Number one, it is a spirit that they were told about while Jesus was around, and after Christ died, the spirit of Antichrist came onto the scene. That's in 1 John 4:8. Go read it for yourself. Double check what I'm telling you. They said, "For you have heard that he is coming, and he is now here." A lot of people like to say that, well, if you interpret it, that they're talking about the many antichrists that are here during this period of time, but there's going to be one in the future. I'm sorry, the attributes don't support that. The other attributes are, so it is a spirit. They came out from among. It's a spirit that affects people that are among the church, and they have specific attributes. And John even says that this is a test to know if a spirit is from God. So these are the attributes and the test. Do they deny the Father and the Son? Do they deny that Jesus is the Messiah? Do they deny that Jesus came in the flesh? And are they liars and deceivers? That's literally what it says about the Antichrist. And what the church has done is they've conflated multiple sections of Scripture to weave this story about an end-time Antichrist who's going to be handsome, he's going to be persuasive, he's going to be a political powerhouse, who's going to solve puzzles, and he's going to swoon everybody. They're basically trying to describe someone like Donald Trump or Elon Musk. See, this is where that great deception comes into play, is because if you don't study the Scripture for yourself and you believe these kind of lies from people who don't actually teach you the truth of what's in the Scripture, you're going to be deceived. It's the easiest study in the Scripture. Just go to any Bible program. Here, matter of fact, I'll even show you. You go in here, you go to BibleGateway.com, and you type in the word Antichrist. 4 results. 4 Bible results for Antichrist. 1 John 2:22, or 1 John 2:18, 1 John 2:22, 1 John 4:3, 2 John 1:7. He was talking about the Antichrist in Daniel. Not written in there. Antichrist, the word ain't used in Daniel, nor are any of the attributes of the word Antichrist used in Daniel. That's a lie. I'm sure he probably covers Thessalonians, saying that that man of sin, the son of perdition, is the Antichrist. Word Antichrist ain't used there. The only way that that could be the Antichrist is if you're talking about it from a spirit, not a man. And also, he says in Revelation 13 that the Antichrist and the false prophet. The Antichrist is the first beast, and the false prophet is the second beast. They're faking a story for people who don't read the scripture. Go read the scripture for yourself and stop listening to these people, because it's people like this and these lies that they're telling, these fake stories. And look, I don't want to make him, I don't want to, I'm not trying to pick on Jack Hibbs or other pastors and teachers like him, but they're lying. They're not being truthful about what's written. They're telling a story that has been passed down from church to church that is not really based on the scripture, and it's loosely based on the scripture, and they don't make that clear. And as a result, people believe crazy things, such as they believe that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. I have very close friends who think that Donald Trump is the Antichrist, and they can't stand listening to him because they have that hatred deep within them that he's this evil person. And I don't want to be deceived, because I've been told he's going to be charming. I've been told he's going to have great hair. You know, these things. This is how these churches deceive you and lie to you. Same thing with Elon Musk. I can't tell you how many people have told me that he is the Antichrist or the false prophet because he's building Neuralink, or because he wore a Halloween costume as a devil. Well, God looks on the heart. Man looks on the outside. That is not indicative of who he is. You'll know them by their fruits, and his fruit is very good. So we're a little different here on this channel. If you've never heard that spiel before, that is this is a common a pet peeve of mine, is how people lie about this word Antichrist. Now, with all of that being said, I'm not saying that there's not going to be an end time ruler. I'm saying that in order to truly understand who that end time ruler is, you need to be very specific in the scripture. Now, the book of Daniel does talk about, there is an image in regards to the end time about horns, to where a little horn usurps 3 other horns and uproots them by their roots, and goes on to speak great things and blasphemies. That is written about in the book of Daniel, but it's never referred to as Antichrist and doesn't have any of the attributes of Antichrist. So we have to be very specific about what is written if you're going to identify these things and not be deceived. Generalities allow you to be deceived. When you're specific about things, that's how you can differentiate between truth and error. And it's important to understand the difference between truth and error, because you know, this end time narrative, they want to combine like 30 different people under Antichrist and false prophet. 30 is probably an exaggeration, but you've got the little horn in Revelation 13. It's more likely talking about something like the G7, the beast from the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. Because there's definitions later on in the book of Revelation. Revelation 17 says what that first beast from the sea is, that it's made up of nations, peoples, and tongues. So it's very likely a government made up of by the people, for the people, meaning it's probably a democratic government where people are voted into power. It's a beast with 7 heads. The heads are very likely nations. 10 horns is the controlling power in those heads. So you get 1 to 2 per head, 1 to 2 horn per head. That's like your president and vice president, your prime minister. Yeah, when you get down to the details, that's when you can actually understand what's written, and that's how you can actually not be blind to what's happening. Drives me nuts when people tell this end time Antichrist story that's full of BS. That is 90% of it's not even written in the scripture. It's just they're blind. They're totally blind because they don't care about the details. I care about the details. They drive me insane when people when they speak incorrectly. There's certain things that don't bother me, but when it plays an important role in understanding, that's when it really bothers me. But anyway, let's get back to your questions. What was your other question? So where's the other two witnesses? So Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Seal number 5 does not take place on Earth. Is that correct? I don't know. So seal number 5 is... Oh, you're talking about the scene in heaven where those under the altar say, "How much longer, Lord?" And then they're told to wait a little bit longer while their fellow brethren are killed as they ought. Yeah, you're right. That doesn't technically probably take place on Earth. However, the first 4 seals, so let me share this with you. The first 4 seals. So what the seal seems to represent, based on what we've observed so far, is the opening of a seal seems to represent a period of time where a certain event happens that has a global impact. So seal number 1 seems to be the COVID pandemic. That seems to be, which people like Jack Hibbs want to say that seal number 1 is the Antichrist because of white and deception and going forth conquering and to conquer. No. It seems to have been the COVID pandemic. And there's a lot to support this. If you haven't heard this before, let me, okay, I'll give you the quick, too long, didn't read. So this is the anchor point. So September 23rd, 2017, it's so unique it only happens one time. It acts as an anchor point that tells us we're in the end times. This is what Revelation 4 is describing, seems to be describing. If you read Revelation 4, it talks about a throne surrounded by a green rainbow with 4 living creatures around the throne and 24 elders. So what that seems to be describing is the view looking down at the earth at the North Pole, because from that perspective, you can see 4 constellations in the corners: Leo, Taurus, Ophiuchus, and Aquila, which seem to match the living creatures: the lion, the calf, the face of a man, and the flying eagle. And the 24 elders seem to be either 24 hours or 24 time zones that are ruled over by the sun and the moon. That's where you get the golden crown and the white robe. And then the green rainbow seems to be the aurora borealis. What it's literally seems to be describing is a legend by which to understand when the seals are opened. Because what followed after this, after the Revelation 12 sign, is there were eclipses in the sections of skies ruled over by those 4 living creatures. For instance, this one seemed to mark seal number 1, which was December 26, 2019, when there was an annular solar eclipse above Sagittarius, which is right under Aquila, the flying eagle. This one happened on December 14th. I'll go back. So this was the first day the pandemic started, which went forth conquering and to conquer. This was December 14th, 2020. There was an annular solar eclipse in Ophiuchus, the face of a man, which is one of the living creatures. This was the day the Electoral College declared that Joe Biden was the winner of the presidential election. This was also the same day that Operation Warp Speed was handed over to the Biden administration, and the first day that they gave the vaccine. So the second seal is the rider on the red horse who's given power to take peace and who's given a mighty sword. This happened on June 10th, 2021. There was an eclipse in the calf between his horns. Most people think that this is famine. It seems as though it's actually referring to a union between the United States and the United Kingdom. The word in Greek is actually yoke. It's not balance. So a yoke is what combines the strength of 2 animals together. This is a yoke. That's what's described in for seal number 3. And then seal number 4, this is it's not the Al-Aqsa flood. It's actually when Israel responded to the Al-Aqsa flood with Operation, I think it's Iron Sword. But you have the eclipse that was in Virgo, which is ruled over by Leo the lion. So you have the lion who says, come and see. So the living creatures are calling attention to the eclipses and the events that are happening on the particular days. So with all of that data, we can infer that that's based on even this guy here. So you've got the first 4 seals that happened over here. You ever wonder why there's only 4 living creatures mentioned in the book of Revelation? Because once you understand half of the pattern, you can, if you see somebody with a left hand, you can, infer that they have a right hand, right? Same thing with the eclipses. So they mirror each other. So based on that pattern, we can infer when the next seal will be opened. So even if it doesn't happen here on earth, if it's happening spiritually, we actually have a mark. We actually know how to identify when the seal is open because it mirrors this pattern. So the eclipse that seems to match seal number 5 happens on February 17th, 2026. Now, because this seal mentions that people need to die as they ought, this is probably not going to be a good period of time. And the people under the altar are told to wait a short period of time, a short while, which it's interesting because between seal number 5 and seal number 6 is only about 6 months. So you've got from February to August. So it's about 6 months and 10 days. So I'm guessing that this is probably going to be the start of something like an insurrection. And there's probably going to be assassinations and people are going to die. Maybe this is when, we realize when the murderers and rapists who are in the country, or even if they're a foreign invader, say is, Hamas. There's lots of talk about Hamas performing an Al-Aqsa flood on the United States. Something like that could start on February 17th, 2026. So this is what a lot of people have been afraid of for what seal number 1 is. So you can see that people who aren't watching and aren't paying attention to what God has been making very obvious in the heavens, and even obvious from people like me who are showing you the data of what happened in the heavens. But people are so blinded by, their pastors who are telling them what they should be looking for. And they're listening to that because it sounds like a fantasy story. They're not actually looking with a heart of wisdom or an intent to understand. They're I don't know what it is I don't understand why people don't see what seems to be so obvious. I mean, the whole world knows we are in the end times, right? I mean, all of Jerusalem is waiting for the Messiah right now. You can go onto YouTube and see 100 different rabbis saying Messiah is coming any day now. And then Christians, same thing. Messiah is coming any day now. Jesus is coming any day now. But they don't know exactly where we are in the timeline in order to what to expect. A lot of people, when you talk about timeline and events, say, well, no man knows the day or hour. That's a really short-sighted and understanding of what Jesus actually said. When his disciples said, how will we know when you're going to return? Jesus gave them a lot of information of stuff to watch for. He gave them Matthew 24 and Matthew 25. He not only did he give them specific events, he gave them parables of what it would be like in the days of Noah. Well, are we like the days of Noah right now with the DEI and the transgender and the mutilation and the pedophilia and the slavery? Sorry, about 2 hours, my voice starts to give out. Are we like in the days of Noah right now? And, there's a lot of stuff to watch for and pay attention. Jesus even went so far as to say, if the good man of the house had known in what hour the thief would come, he would have watched. so that his house would not be broken up. I'm telling you, something probably is going to pop off on February 17th. There's an eclipse on that day that matches the opening of the seals. And one of the things that's associated with that particular eclipse is people dying. I don't think people realize the impact and what the possibility of, and that's also based on like what we're seeing around the world today. We just had the assassination of Charlie Kirk in September. Tim Pool, they're shooting up his house. That just happened over the weekend. Somebody would just drive by. Things are heating up. Things are getting intense. You can see what's happening with your eyes. You can see the spiritual things that are happening. And Jesus told us about these things before they were going to happen. And John 14:29, Jesus says, the reason I tell you these things before they happen is so that when they happen, you will believe. So this is really good news. Even if this is a terrible time, if this is a scary time in February, or even now, the good news is Jesus told us about these things ahead of time. They are happening and coming to pass, which means he is the Messiah. He is the Son of God. He is the Zerubbabel, which is talked about in Zechariah 4, the one who came and laid the foundation for the temple, and he'll be the one who comes and puts the capstone on it. That's what Zerubbabel does. He puts the capstone on the temple. He's been building a temple of all of those who believe in him, who confess him as their Lord. Romans 10:9 and 10, that if thou shalt confess with your mouth the Lord Jesus and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart you believe unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. When you do that, you become part of that temple. You become one of the bricks in that temple of God that he's been building for 2,000 years. Yeah, so while it does happen elsewhere, it's probably a spiritual event that's not on Earth. Very good observation, by the way. It very likely is marking a shift in what's happening, probably in America, honestly. Given what's happening with the conflicts that are in like Chicago and Portland and New York and even Texas, in California. I mean, like you can see the temperature increasing. You can see the talk of civil war on the rise. You can see people talking about the Insurrection Act. I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever it is, there's very likely going to be the start of something that affects the entire world that starts on February 17th, 2026. I have no idea what it's going to be. It's probably not going to be good, and it's probably going to last 6 months. And the thing about the 6 months is seal number 6. Boy, oh boy. Let me tell you about seal number 6. Seal number 6 is very likely when the wrath of God starts. If you've ever read the events that take place between seal number 6 and seal number 7, that's where you have the bowl judgments, the trumpet judgments. You have the heavens roll up like a scroll. You have the angels are given permission to harm the earth. You have plagues. You have the mark of the beasts. A lot of stuff happens during seal number 6. My guess on what that probably is we've been observing the shields around the earth weakening with Ben Davidson from Suspicious Observers. That's probably going to be when the earth rotates. So the North Pole will rotate down to the equator, which you can imagine that if you're looking up at the sky, the stars are going to roll up like a scroll. They're going to start moving. And Ben Davidson had said that if you're looking at the stars, that's exactly what it's going to look like. And because of the rotation, you're going to have stuff falling from the heavens, very much like stars falling to Earth. Maybe it's satellites. Maybe it is actually meteorites. Maybe we go through a meteor field. Who knows? But it's going to be catastrophe on the Earth. A lot of what's described in between seals number 6 and seal number 7 can be explained with what we're observing that's very likely coming on the whole earth. And Jesus even said that the people are going to be afraid for the things that are coming on the whole earth. It's becoming more and more mainstream knowledge that the earth is going to go through a disaster cycle. Tim Pool's been talking about it for the last 2 months. He's had Ben Davidson on his show many times talking about the disaster cycle and when it's coming. Now, granted, Ben Davidson has been estimating that it's not going to come until 2030, 2040, maybe even 2050. But he's been constantly refining that timeline, getting closer and closer to where we are today. And you can see, if you just turn on the news, you see, Three-Eye Atlas. There's a lot of unknowns with that. You've got earthquakes and volcanoes. Everybody knows we're in the end times. And this is as good of explanation as any as to where we are in the end times. And this is based on data. And a lot of it's now my opinion, but it wasn't my opinion initially. This was just formed on observations. All of this is based on facts. FACTS, facts. The eclipses did happen. The events did happen. There was a pandemic. Joe Biden destroyed the United States. That is very likely the head wound. Was the Biden administration was very likely the head wound, because Donald Trump will not shut up about we were dead and now we are alive, which is exactly what Revelation 13 says about the head wound. And the fact that it was wounded by a sword, the vaccine is called a sword. Based on the opening of seal number 2, when Biden was declared by the Electoral College to be the winner of the President of the United States, of the office of the president, that was the same day he got operational control over the vaccine, and it was the same day he gave the first vaccine. So it's very likely that is the sword. And matter of fact, the word used for sword is little dagger. So I hear. I actually don't think I've looked that up myself, but so many people have looked it up and said that that's the word. So that's probably the head wound, was the United States and what happened as a result of the Biden administration and the vaccine, which consequently enough, they just pulled off the market today. If the article I read was telling the truth. I just read an article that they're recalling the Pfizer and the Moderna mRNA vaccines because there's too many unknowns, and the feedback or the data that they're getting back is it doesn't even have an effect on the COVID virus, but there are definitely side effects and consequences. That's based on an article that I read today. I don't know if it's true. So, does that answer your question? Oh boy, a lot more questions. We're never going to get to Elon Musk today. As Christian, Jesus Christ is my God and Savior. Watching certain videos, especially Christian videos, Christian video AI is evil and getting stronger. Okay. Okay. Yeah, don't get me started on AI. I don't. Shoot, are you going to get me started on it? We really need to get to Elon Musk. We're already at 2 hours, and we're probably going to be here for another hour. I wanted to get this done in 2 hours, but you all asked too good of questions. All right, let's move back over here. Let's see. Which one do we do? This one? This one. There you go. All right, we're going to go from top to bottom because we're not going to go more than an hour, and he probably posted more than I could cover in an hour. I did actually upgrade my subscription on this to the Premium Plus, but it's not going to take effect until probably a week, probably next week. So we still have to deal with ads. I apologize in advance if I read ads as though they're from Elon Musk. Okay, exawatts, or you're not really trying. What's an exawatt? What is this? So this is his currently pinned post. Justin, X is now the number one amid attempts of censorship. Left out. I have no idea what this is referring to. I guess we're going to find out. Exawatts. Grok? What is this about? Elon Musk's post underscores the escalating energy requirement for AI development, advocating for exawatt scale power, which is 10 by 18 watts. I don't know what that calculation is. It's a lot. Exawatts, I guess, as essential far beyond current terawatt data centers to sustain rapid compute growth. It builds on Musk's recent statements about constructing orbital power plants and AI data centers via SpaceX, addressing Earth's grid restraints and enabling global low-latency AI infrastructure powered by solar arrays. I have a feeling that these might be the stars that fall to the earth when the earth rotates. So whatever it is that he's building up there. See, I mean, they're pretty far up. Most of the satellites burn up in the atmosphere and never make it to Earth. But what he's talking about is building bigger things. And there are other bigger satellites that are further out. It wouldn't surprise me that when the Earth rotates, if they don't get pulled into our atmosphere, and some of them actually make it to the Earth at the weight of about 100 talents, because the scripture says that the stars from heaven that weigh about 100 talents. Or is it a talent? It's 100 pounds. I think it's about a talent. That weigh about I think it's 100 pounds. Don't quote me on the weight, but there's a weight given. It would not surprise me if those aren't satellites. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so this is, so this has been a main topic lately. Did this open in a new tab? No. All right, so we won't do that too often because apparently it screws up where we are in the timeline. All right, moving on. I'm going to skip anything that's about like Grok being number one or XAI being number one or Grok Imagine. He posts a lot of that kind of stuff, just supporting his companies that really don't add any value. What we're looking for is the things that he's pointing out that are going on around the world, because he does this every single day where he's pointing out atrocities, he's pointing out advancements, he's pointing out things that are happening. He's correcting lies quite often. So those are the kind of the things that we're looking for in his timeline. And he reposts a lot of really good information that if you hadn't heard it before, it's a good way of kind of being up to date on what's going on. Let's see. So censorship industry insiders plot to leverage EU censorship laws to force X to restaff fired censorship workers. From what, Twitter? Let's see. Rebecca Tromble led Toxic Convo research for Twitter 1.0. Katie Harbath, Atlantic Council, and CIA cutout, and Dean Jackson. Oh, so there's a video here.
If it weren't for Europe right now, I think that I would feel pretty defeated and despondent in this moment. It has certainly become much, much more difficult for outside researchers to do the sorts of the options that you list, Samir, to actually engage directly with people at the platforms, because there are simply fewer of them, right? We spent literally years building up relationships with good folks at all of these platforms who are trying to do the right thing. And for the most part, they're gone, right? It's really, really difficult to know who to reach out to, who to work with. If it weren't for the European Union and the Digital Services Act, I don't know that we'd have much hope of rectifying that situation at all. But given the sort of requirements that for performing risk assessments, for sharing more transparent information with the public, and crucially for sharing data with researchers, I do think that we still have some options for leverage to continue the work that we've been doing. And hopefully, ultimately, that leads to a sort of restaffing of some of these positions, increased focus again, as the DSA begins to come into force and the platforms feel the real pressure of actual enforcement action.
So that was in 2023. And then what did Elon say about this? Dang it, this is going to be a problem, isn't it? Really? This is the problem about like navigating into deeper threads to understand the context, is it kind of you lose where you're at on the timeline. Let's see. I told you this was the most important video in the world, and this was the purpose of the EU DSA. And Elon just reposted that. So this is a video saying how they're trying to get basically the demon people back in, the censorship people back into the basically what Elon bought Twitter for, to protect us against. She is, let's see, what is this? SCOTUS Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson told the court that presidents should not be able to fire the PhDs and experts who run the government. She even argued presidents should avoid control over transportation and the economy. Elon said she is openly advocating for the destruction of democracy. See, this is what I mean by like, this is truth. This is prophecy. He's pointing out somebody who's openly advocating for the destruction of democracy. I saw a question in here that I wanted to answer. Hey, Paul, I haven't seen you on the stream for a while. Let's see, have you looked at whether we are in double jubilee with each rest period being 7 years? I haven't. I need to really get more. I need to look at those things. Yeah, the jubilee is really important for. So the jubilee is 7 times 7. So in the Old Testament, after the jubilee, the 50th year. There's so many things that are important to that period of time that the Jubilee is definitely really important. I haven't. I really need to get back into the research side of things. Honestly, I spend so much time during the day working that I have very little time for research. I do most of my research live with you guys. This is my time to really get into stuff and research things. But no, we need to. If you've got anything to contribute, I'm definitely all ears about that stuff. See, please tell me how you feel about Elon Musk. Is he a Christian? I don't know if it's a requirement that the two witnesses be Christians. I think that's an assumption that we've made throughout the years because we thought the two witnesses were going to be like Elijah and Moses, which, by the way, Elijah and Moses were not Christians. I don't know if you realize that in order to be a Christian, Christ had to have come. Depending on what your definition of Christian is, Christian is talked about in the Bible. They're the followers of Christ. So Moses and Elijah, Christ wasn't around. However, Christ just means anointed one. So they were anointed ones, Moses and Elijah. But that's one of the things about the two witnesses is there's very little said about them. So we've made a lot of assumptions about them that right now I'm just going based on what we can observe. And we're very clearly in the end times, and we have two men who are standing up every single day fighting for truth and justice. Just like, I read Elon Musk is talking about, Justice Ketanji Brown, how she is openly advocating for the destruction of democracy. That could technically be considered prophecy, because prophecy isn't always telling the future. Prophecy is also speaking the truth and confronting lies and deception. That's what prophets do. Let's see. Never heard of the concept of a double jubilee. Jubilee of Jubilee. 7 jubilees get double the rest. Cool. What about Wormwood? How do you feel about that? So Wormwood. So one of the problems with Wormwood is my opinion about Wormwood is that it's probably Apophis. Let's see, where is it? So here on this calendar, do you see the red line over here on the right? In the top right, there's a red line, and under it, it says 4/13/2029, Apophis/Redwood. So there is a meteor that's heading towards the Earth that they estimate will be here April 13th, 2029. They said that it's not going to hit the Earth, but it's going to hit so close that it goes underneath the satellites, which I would argue that if you can determine with that degree of detail, what's to stop it from just hitting the Earth? So we already know that there's a meteor heading towards us that is going to get so close to the Earth that it's going to go underneath satellites. That's a strong candidate for Wormwood. The problem is it doesn't fit with this timeline at all. You know what I mean? So like this timeline here, so if seal number 7 is August 2nd of 2027, that's long before 2029. So I'm this is where I'm torn, is I have two timelines here and I'm not entirely sure which one is correct. So we'll know more in February. If something significant happens February 17th, then that will tell me we're very likely on this timeline. If nothing significant happens and, we'll say we get to like April of 2028, then that would push like seal number 6 and seal number 7 to a period closer to when wormwood would come. So we basically have 2 timelines to watch for. We have this one, this one, which is the symmetrical one, which is the one that I think is probably most likely, but we just won't know until February 17th, 2026. And then we have the longer one, which is, goes till 2031. If the timeline actually goes until 2031, then Apophis wormwood is very likely, what's referred to as wormwood. So that's a big fat I don't know, but I've got some ideas. You know what I mean? All right, what else do you guys have for me here? Okay, you're still talking about Jubilees. Let's see, scripturally. Okay, I'm very interested in the Jubilee stuff, but I think it'll keep us here too long. Instead of a year, we went with 7 years. Let's see. Okay, we'll just read this. Scripturally, there is no definitive time for a Jubilee. Normally, every 7th iteration of a time period is rest. A week ending in Sabbath is an example. Typically, the period is a year, so 7th. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so 7 is significant because doesn't matter which duration, it always ends in rest. So you have a week where you work 6 days and then you take a Sabbath day off. And then you have a week of years, which is 7 years times 7, take it off. And then you have, a Sabbath or a Jubilee of a Jubilee, 490 years. Let's see. Instead of a year, let's see. Thank you. Keeping Christians updated with current Christian news. Also, scrolls behind you. Are they from the Dead Street? So this is just a digital background. Those aren't real books. I wanted to have a simple background that emphasized books with the Israel flag and the United States flag. So I generated it with, I think, Grok. All right. Let's see. The vacuum of being that close would be catastrophic. Okay. Yeah, this would be the underpinning of my suspicion, the end of the ages in 2031. Yeah. Yep. So I think we have so much information from so many factual information, data-based facts, that I think that we can start to correct some of the assumptions that we've made up until this point. For instance, seal number 1. I don't think that's, you heard my speech on the Antichrist. I don't think that's the Antichrist, so I think we should stop saying that. How we get the world to do that, I have no idea. I guess I'll just keep doing these videos until somebody listens. All right, let's get back to Elon here. Let's see, from Wall Street Journal opinion, it's rare for a single policy move to create so much economic self-sabotage and diplomatic harm in one stroke. But Europe is succeeding. The European Commission proves its critics right by fining Elon Musk's social platform. Even, this is funny. Nobody likes the Wall Street Journal, but Elon is saying even the Wall Street Journal agrees that it was a problem. So if you weren't aware, Europe is trying to fine Elon Musk $140 million for not agreeing to censor content in Europe, because he wants a platform where truth is told and can be found, which I believe is what makes what he's doing an olive tree, because an olive tree provides oil, and oil is, there's a lot of purposes of oil. It's used in anointing, but it's also, because it's used in conjunction with the menorah lamps, it's likely the fuel that the fire burns in order to stay lit. So you could argue that a parallel would be a place where you can go to find the truth. If truth is the oil, it allows people to still know the truth and burn bright, because it was getting dark under the Biden administration. To where people were being canceled. YouTube was not only banning people outright. They were shadow banning people, which still happens to a degree, but far less now that Elon Musk has bought Twitter and Donald Trump is the president. So you could definitely say that those two men are making it so that the truth can still be told while they're in power. So my guess is that they're not going to be in power much more than 3 years, because we're already 320 some odd days into the Trump administration. All right, the 15-year-old girl who was raped by, I don't know if it matters if I hide that word. I should just say it. I don't like saying it, but I think the reality of what's going on is probably more important than trying to be overly sensitive. So the 15-year-old girl who was raped by 2 Afghan boat migrants in Warwickshire captured footage on their phone that was so appalling that one of the boys' barristers warned it would lead to rioting if the public were to see it. And Elon posted, "A government that fails to protect its citizens is illegitimate." Again, arguably prophecy. You could write a book of his the things he said. Elon Musk on the real answer he bought Twitter. Oh, this is good. We should probably listen to this.
I didn't do the purchase because I thought it was a great way to make money, or because, I thought it would improve my quality of living. Because frankly, I knew that I would be, there would be a zillion slings and arrows coming my direction, because the woke mind virus and various other sort of falsities are not going to take it lying down. And I could just end up being killed by some crazy person, that is an effective arm of the mind virus. So, but it really, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it really felt like if there was a civilizational danger. Yeah. That unless one of the major online platforms broke ranks, then because they're all just behaving in lockstep, along with the legacy media, just everyone saying the same thing. And so there's literally, it was just no place to actually get the truth. It was almost impossible. So everything was just getting censored. Like the power of the censorship apparatus was incredible.
There you go. That's one of the reasons why he bought Twitter, which it's interesting. I don't know if you guys remember, I was actually still following him on the day he decided to buy Twitter. And it was the same day, I believe. I could be wrong about if it was the same day or if it was the day after. It was probably the day after or soon after they banned the Babylon Bee. Which the Babylon Bee, if you're not aware, is a Christian parody organization that tries to make wholesome fun of things. Well, Twitter had banned them for some stupid reason, and it was very shortly after that where Elon got on the platform and said, well, I guess I should buy Twitter now. I guess I need to buy Twitter. He's a big fan of the Babylon Bee. They're friends of his. He's been on their show. They've outright asked him if he believes that Jesus is their Lord, is his Lord and Savior. And he doesn't speak like that. You're never going to get an answer to where he says that. I don't know. Never is probably a strong word. Maybe the way he phrases this changes. A big part. So here's a big reason why I think Donald Trump and Elon Musk aren't. One of the reasons why people don't see them as the two witnesses is they're probably filtering who they think the two witnesses are and how they should behave through your filter of experience in church. So you're expecting them to be somebody like your pastor or somebody like who your pastor has taught you about in the Old Testament, Elijah and Moses. And both Elon Musk and Donald Trump are not outspoken. They're very empathetic to all religions, which, given the fact that there's 40,000 different denominations, I think it's probably more telling that they're not members of a particular denomination, because that would isolate so many people. Granted, it would be a hell of a lot easier if they would just come out and say they're Christians or, make it plainly obvious that Jesus is their Lord and Savior, they're too careful. Both of them, they're too smart and they're too careful to isolate people to make those kind of statements. So it doesn't bother me that they're not really outspoken in their faith. Elon Musk skirts around the issue. He's definitely gotten more spiritually minded in the last couple of years. Really, after Donald Trump after the assassination attempt on Trump is when he really kind of started changing his tune and his ways to where he's really been standing up to defend truth and justice. I don't know if I have that counted as a start of a potential 1,260 days. I'll have to think about that one. All right, let's keep going. Darn it. Oh, good. All right. That is, let's see, Chile's first utility scale mega pack project is underway. 225 megawatts or 900 megawatt hours. Kelda Solar in Atacama Desert, powered by megapacks built in Shanghai Megafactory. The system strengthens grid ability and supports the growing solar penetration. I don't know if we really need to hear this. I mean, it's cool that Elon is solving problems. I think this is less of a prophecy and more of a just a company announcement. Let's see. Google CEO is talking about data centers.
I mean, over time, at Google, we are always proud of taking moonshots. You mentioned Waymo earlier. You know, that's been over a decade in the making. We're working on quantum computing. In that spirit, one of our moonshots is to how do we one day have data centers in space so that we can better harness the energy from the sun? You know, that is 100 trillion times more energy than what we produce in all of Earth today. So we want to put these data centers in space, closer to the sun, and I think we are taking our first step in 27. We'll send tiny racks of machines and have them in satellites, test them out, and then start scaling from there. But there's no doubt to me that a decade or so away, we'll be viewing it as a more normal way to build data centers.
Well, and so much of this, as you say, normal, it's a normal way of life for
I mean, over time, at Google, we are always proud of taking moonshots. You mentioned Waymo earlier. You know, that's been over a decade in the making. We're working on quantum computing. In that spirit, one of our moonshots is to how do we one day have data centers in space so that we can better harness the...
Okay, I get it now. I missed that he said data centers in space. So Elon Musk has been saying something similar to where we're going to have to put... He speaks about it from a power generation perspective. I think how this applies to things is by moving stuff into space, as you can start to see why there would be stars falling to Earth that weigh about a talent. Yeah. And that's one of the things is I don't know how aware even Donald Trump is about the disaster cycle, which it's concerning because I want what Ben Davidson and other scientists are saying about the Earth seems to be legitimate, and it seems to line up with what's written in Scripture. And it bothers me that Elon Musk and Donald Trump don't say anything about what's happening to the Earth. Donald Trump, if anything, he's constantly bashing the Democrats for their climate change missions, which are obviously bogus because you're not going to do anything to stop what's happening on the Earth one way or the other. But yeah, it bothers me that they don't really, maybe that'll change to where they start saying that, you know, there's credible information that there's a disaster coming to the Earth. But at the same time, they also don't really acknowledge the increase in earthquakes and volcanic activity, which is a statistic you can look up. 2 years ago it was up over 6,000%. I can't imagine what it's like now. I would assume that it's continued to go up, but to be honest, I haven't actually looked in a while. It's possible that it went down. We'll have to check that out. Not now. We got to get through this. We're already at 2.5 hours. All right, moving on. Let's see. People in England are being arrested over social media posts that are not threats and have nothing to do with national security. So this is a repost. We should be paying close attention to this. This is what happens when societies become overly sensitive and start policing speech instead of protecting it. All right, what does he say here?
Counts 2 and 4, the racially aggravated offences, there will be custodial terms of 6 months, and on count 6, 8, 9, and 10, custodial terms of 4 months, all such terms to run concurrently, and all suspended for a period of 18 months. If during that 18-month period you commit any further...
Okay, this is wild. This man is being sentenced for a social media post. Now, that guy speaking is kind of confusing on what he's saying, so I kind of looked it up. Essentially, this man got sentenced to 6 months in prison, but they're suspending that for 18 months. So if he goes 18 months and doesn't commit any crimes or reoffend or anything like that, he actually doesn't have to serve that 6-month term or sentence, not a term. So he won't be in jail unless he reoffends. But again, this is over a social media post or multiple social media posts. So this is from my social media research. After 2 women commented on a match he didn't like, I guess it was soccer, he posted a photo of the serial killers Fred and Rose West with both the women's faces photoshopped onto them. He called DeLuco a diversity hire who only had the job because she's black and a woman, and said she was murdering football fans' ears like Stalin or Pol Pot murdered people. The court said this was racist, misogynistic, and deliberately meant to humiliate and frighten them. This is in England, and it's still kind of scary. If you think about it as well, the left over the past 4 to 5 years was aggressively trying to censor speech. And if we're not careful, this is where censoring speech and worried about microaggressions and being too sensitive and all that other bullcrap, this is where it can lead us. I think.
Yeah, he's 100% right. And I think Elon stopped that. I think that Elon buying Twitter put a stop. So we can actually see in Europe, in the EU, what would have happened under a Kamala Harris administration. There would have been continued censorship, increased censorship, and we would have been moving much, much faster to that second kingdom, the beast from the lands with the 2 horns, that's responsible for implementing the mark of the beast. So you can, just by observation and, looking at what's happening and looking at the trajectory of where it's going, you can get an idea of what the future is going to look like. So Donald Trump and Elon Musk came in and put a stop to that trajectory for basically the term of the Trump administration. And there's no way they're going to allow him to have another term. And they're probably going to do everything in their power to prevent any other Republicans from taking office. Something is very likely going to happen before the end of the presidential term, and probably in what was it, July 3rd, 2028. That's 1,260 days after January 20th, 2025. Probably something's going to happen to where that's where you look for what happened in the prophecy written in Daniel that talks about the little horn who usurps the 3 other horns, uproots 3 other horns. So by understanding what the horns represents, you can and combine that with what we've observed so far, we can start to get an idea of what that could look like. And it very likely, and I'm not the first person to say this. This is a pretty common narrative right now, is that we're looking at a Muslim or Islamic world government. There's a lot of smart people who are saying that. That's if you're listening to anybody who's claiming to be a prophet that's telling you that the Antichrist is going to be Muslim, God's not telling them that. That's just common knowledge, just common sense based on what's written in the scripture. Yeah, I mean, like that's pretty common. So, but you can see that just by observation, with the world surrounding Israel, the Gaza attack, the Al-Aqsa flood. You can see the Islamic invasion into these different countries. They're trying to implement Sharia law. Donald Trump and Elon Musk put a stop to that for a period of time. But once they're removed, that will very likely not only continue, it'll probably be accelerated. So 7 heads and 10 horns on that first beast. It wouldn't surprise me if 3 horns don't get usurped by some world leader, which people like to say is the Antichrist. But like I said, not the Antichrist. You're more accurate to say little horn, or whatever else, just so that you can understand the rest of everything else that's going to happen. All right, moving on. Geez, we're never going to make it through his timeline, I swear, if I keep talking like this. All right, the EU commissioners are responsible for the murder of Europe. He's not mixing words. You know, they would throw him in jail if he went to Europe right now. I don't know if they could. You think they could if he went to the EU based on the things that he's said? Let's see. Why I despise this. So this is a repost from Martin Sellner. Why I despise the EU. In 2013, the Italian Coast Guard had picked up 24 Africans on the high seas and returned them to Africa. With the help of an NGO, they sued Italy from an asylum camp in Libya and won their case before the European Council of Human Rights. Italy had to pay them 360,000 euros and ship them to Europe. This was the starting point for the flood of illegals over the Med. The European institutions paralyzed the nation states. They became defenseless. The EU works hand in hand with the ECHR against the European nations. I despise them. And then Elon said the EU commissioners are responsible for the murder of Europe. Truth be told, let's see, 6 months for speech. 6 months for speech. Oh, so he was arrested. I don't want to click on that because we'll probably lose our space in the timeline. Let's see. The issue with leftists is that they lose more sleep when someone says the N-word than when innocent people are killed for no reason. Elon says murder is much worse than words, right? Truth. All right. Ooh, we're getting some serious wind out here. Feel the whole building shaking. Could be earthquakes too. Remove hero's journey, remove masculinity, remove redemption arcs, remove sacrifice, remove beauty. Let's see. It's a sign of something extremely ominous that during a time of massive social upheaval, seemingly no one can produce even passably interesting art about what we are all living through. Was a single good movie or television show released this year? Not even great, just good. I know we're actually watching old TV just because we're so sick and tired of the terrible TV. Like we're watching Psych right now. Whenever we sit down as a family to just enjoy something on TV, what a good TV show! If you haven't seen Psych, it's such a good TV show. So innocent and fun. I mean, I guess it does deal with like murder and stuff like that, but it's from a fun show. We also watch Alf too. Have you seen Alf? Geez, that's such an old show. One of my kids loves Alf, and just that's all they want to watch is Alf. This mind control doesn't work anymore. The lever broke off from overuse, and they're furiously waggling it back and forth. Let's see. Is a nation-specific people united by heritage, tradition, and shared values, or is a nation a basically arbitrary entity defined by paperwork? This is the core political issue of our time. Members of a nation must have a common culture, or it is not a nation. Yeah. Poverty does not cause crime. Rather, the same underlying traits, low intelligence and low self-control, cause both poverty and crime. Correct. One of the great mistakes is to judge policies and programs by their intentions rather than their results. That is a true statement. The evolution of Tesla Optimus over time. We don't need to see that. This looks good.
James argues, accurately, that there are differences between men and women. This is a strange position to be in, to be arguing for something that is so universally and widely accepted within biology. What is not as widely accepted is that culture is also evolutionary, but I'm going to argue that biology and culture are both evolutionary. Let's look at differences between men and women that are explicitly anatomical and physiological. Are men taller than women on average? Does anyone take offense at that fact? Are you irritated?
There's always a standout.
So I would say you could be irritated by it. You could be irritated by the fact that women have to be the ones to gestate and lactate. You could be irritated by a lot of truths. But taking offense is a response that is rejection of reality. So men and women are different on height. They're different on muscle mass. They're different on where fat is deposited on our bodies, right? Our brains are also different. So there.
Security.
Wow.
This is what happens. Oh, did they shut off the volume? Can you hear? Can everybody hear?
Really? He's a piece of shit. That's not okay. Even the women in there have been brainwashed.
Should not listen to fascism. It should not be tolerated in civil society. Nazis are not welcome in civil society.
Fuck the police! Cover the people! Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to raise our voices. The conversation's going to go on. Let me be crystal clear. Let me be crystal clear. People do not have the right to tell you what you can and cannot listen to. People do not have the right, fringe elements of society do not have the right to hold you hostage to discourse. This is a university.
Amen.
If we cannot have this conversation here, we can't have it anywhere. We have to be able to talk about it. No issues will solve themselves. That sort of behavior is unacceptable.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that's what this period of time that we're going through that must happen is for. Is it's causing a division between those who are willing to talk and those who just want to fight. It really seems to me like it's the separation of the wheat from the tares. I mean, I don't know if it really is the harvest, but it feels like a harvest because there's a major difference for that kind of behavior when somebody is just speaking the truth and it causes the hatred in somebody else to where they start accusing you of the things that they're doing. That seems like a separation of those people of value from those people of little value, the wheat and the tares. I mean, that is the true reality of the wheat and the tares is you have something growing that is completely worthless and of no value because it provides no nourishment, no sustenance. It's only good for being trodden under. And then you have something which has tremendous value, which has a fruit, which is nutritious and beneficial. Seems like that's where we're at right now. Let's see, Grok, ad. Let's see, Elon Musk is not the enemy of Europe. The European Union is the enemy of Europe. Agreed. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth.
If you look at actual policies, Donald Trump is the true and rightful heir of Ronald Reagan.
What?
It's President Trump who has inherited and restored President Reagan's powerful but focused and realistic approach to national defense.
Oh, okay.
It's therefore only fitting that we gather at the Reagan Presidential Library today to talk about President Trump's America First, Peace Through Strength, Common Sense agenda and what it means at the Department of War.
Yeah.
The War Department will not be distracted by democracy building, interventionism, undefined wars, regime change, climate change, woke moralizing, and feckless nation building. We will instead put our nation's practical, concrete interests first. We will deter war. We will advance our interests. We will defend our people. Peace is our goal.
Just remember, Jesus doesn't come. He's not coming to bring peace this next time. Yeah. Yeah, when he comes back, there's going to be a fight. See, I'm on day 4, flying trip, day 2. Let's see, this better not be an ad. Is this video? No. Oh, it's Grok Imagine. Yeah, Grok Imagine's awesome. Let's see, today is 2015. Logan Tipton, 6 was killed when a home invader, Ronald Exon, is butchered him. Oh, man. 2025, KDOC ordered his release and shipped him to Florida. The Broward County Sheriff's Office shipped him back to KY. He will be released again in 2026. Wow. So you've got somebody who brutally murdered a young boy, 6 years old, who was released after 10 years. Good for Florida for shipping his butt back, but for him to be released again in 2026, shouldn't it be a life for a life? I don't know. I mean, I guess the only unforgivable sin is blasphemy against the Holy Spirit. But I don't know if that guy has made amends and proven that he has been forgiven to the point where he's not going to offend again. I mean, I don't know the details of this case. Some of these things, I mean, the fact that Elon is posting it, I think it shows a pattern. I think that's really the point to take away from this is there's a pattern of, specifically, so there's corruption in the Department of Justice, and it's very heavily weighed towards the Democrats or the far-leaning left mindset to allow this kind of thing, to where you have, a common pattern is people who have been who have been arrested and arraigned in prison 40 times for violent offenses, and then they continue to let them go, and then they go on to murder people. These are avoidable deaths that could be avoided if these people were properly imprisoned or just not living anymore. And I think that's what he's pointing out, is this guy should not be free. EU fined X 120 million euros to hurt X. X became more popular. X became the #1 news app in every EU country. Elon Musk be like, oh, so this is a meme, and then he's crying over this because this is fire. This is exactly, this is one of the attributes that we can infer from the two witnesses, is the more you attack them, it backfires on those who would attack them, or it just makes them stronger. And that is true of both Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They called Donald Trump Teflon Don because nothing sticks. And Elon Musk, he just gets richer and more powerful the more you attack him. He's already the richest man in the world. Good Lord. Grok, let's see. I got a lot of nonsense for saying that simply turning off the benefit tap would result in massive remigration over even a moderate time. I don't think people appreciate how much these people are being paid to come to the West. Elon Musk, he knows for sure. He's actually spoken up about this many, many times. The reason people can't come to America, the Biden administration spent and not only spent, but also manipulated and orchestrated incentives for these people to come here. Many of them make a boatload of money for just being here. It's terrible. See, a man from Somalia named Abdikerm Abdali Idol was part of the $250 million Feeding Our Future scam. He fled to Africa to avoid punishment. He used laundered taxpayer money to buy a home in Minnesota that his wife still lives in, and he's listed as the owner. Reporter even knocked on the door, and his wife answered the door. A man from Somalia stole over $1 million, bought a home, and his wife still lives in it after getting caught. Only in America. He's involved in millions of dollars in bribes, kickbacks, and laundered fraud. Yeah, when are we going to see some justice for these people? I mean, even the guy that shot Charlie Kirk, it's just like there's so little information about what's happening, and all the crazy things that happened under the Biden administration. It makes me wonder if we're ever, that might be part of seal number 5. How much longer, Lord, until you, what does it say? Seal number 5. I want to get the wording right on this. So Revelation 6. So this is what seal number 5, the cry of the martyrs. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood on those who dwell on the earth? Then a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. So the thing about the seals is they mark periods of time. So I have to believe that the reason why we were given so much information about the first 4 seals, maybe because this one is a spiritual one, that it marks a specific period of time. It doesn't have a whole, I don't know what to look for, but maybe this is when we start to see justice. Boy, wouldn't that be great? Be much better than insurrection. I hope it's not insurrection. I hope that's when we start to see justice. But the other thing that's been true about the seals, well, let's see. Not the seals so much. Whenever there's a horse involved, so the first 4 seals have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We learn from the Old Testament that the horses seem to imply a global impact, something that affects the entire world. So there's no 5th horse. There's no 5th, 6th, or 7th horse. So these might not have to be global events. These could be isolated events to certain areas. So it could be the 5th seal could be limited to the United States or something like that. All right, back over here to Elon. Is this the right one? Oh, there was a video and I just read it like an idiot.
Okay, I just want to get this all out while it's still fresh in my head.
That's me, investigative reporter Eric Rasmussen with 5 Eyewitness News. I recently checked on this house in Burnsville, Minnesota, looking for info about a man named
All right, I think we get the idea. We don't really need to listen to that. I read it like an idiot instead of watching the video. See, the Danish data on this stuff is really damning. It's incredibly annoying that commentators here continually hide behind the "we don't have any data" excuse, as if separation by the North Sea is going to magically change the pattern. It's delusional. So this is the conviction rates in Denmark, classified by origin and crime category. The picture painted by the statistics is very clear. Danish origin, Western total, non-Western menapt, non-Western non-menapt. So you've got violent crime, robbery, rape, property offense, homicide, attempted homicide, and criminal code. I imagine that this is indicative of, non-Western total, Sometimes it's hard to read these things. Conviction rates in Denmark, ages 15 to 79 by offense, and immigrant origin. So it seems to imply that it's mainly immigrants. Let's see the Danish data. Yeah. All right, let's see. The Indonesian National Police have installed a total of 76 Starlink terminals in flood and landslide affected areas. Oh, man, yeah, we need to talk about what's happening to the world. I don't know where you are in the world right now. I know on the West Coast, there's major flood warnings because of the weakened shields and the sunspots that are aimed in the plasma that's been ejected from the sun that's been hitting the earth. It's going to hit tonight. If you are affected by solar radiation, I know my wife is. I can always tell when there's been coronal mass ejections from the sun because my wife gets nauseous. Apparently, that's a pretty common thing, and a lot of people aren't aware of it. If you start listening to Suspicious Observers or BP Earthwatch, both of those channels report on the solar ejections. You might learn something about yourself. But anyway, there's some massive radiation hitting the Earth tonight, and it's part of the reason. So we'll probably see some more auroras as a result of the radiation if you're lucky enough to be in an area that doesn't have clouds. But there's also massive weather that's going to be affected by this radiation. So we're under a flood warning on the West Coast. I don't know about you. Probably more earthquakes and volcano eruptions too. But anyway, I was reminded of this by this flood. What is this?
Sexualizing your body makes you a better person.
Are you recording?
I'm gonna record you. Yes.
Do you want me to throw water on you?
Sexualizing your body makes you a better.
What is this about? They were saying not wearing a hijab meant she was sexualizing her body. They cut that part of the film out. Interesting. Let's see. Tesla China is crushing it. Don't really care right now. The United States is suffocating from mass immigration that has destroyed the social fabric and makes cooperation difficult. And bureaucracy on all levels of government that privilege people with degrees but no skills who protect their jobs, killing private initiative. Remigration is the normal position. Let's see. In a recent release poll here in Denmark, 7 out of 10 Danes support the so-called far-right idea of remigration. They support deportation for immigrants who have committed any crime, which are more than 2/3 among Muslim immigrant groups. This is a theme. This is what leads me to believe. This is what I'm saying, to where it's common sense that what's happening is there is an increase in Islam around the world. You don't need somebody who tells you that they're a prophet and that they're receiving visions that the next world leader is going to be Muslim. You just don't need that information. That's probably somebody who wants you to think that they have supernatural capabilities or that they're anointed in such a way that you should listen to every word out of their mouth. That's a common false prophet technique to try and validate and get attention, really. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who aren't having dreams and visions, but this was the very first thing that Jesus warned us about when his disciples asked him, "What will be the sign of your coming?" And he said, "Do not be deceived, for many will come in my name saying, 'I am anointed,' and will deceive many." So I hammer that point about the false prophets because that's the first thing that Jesus warned about, is people coming in his name saying that they are the Christ. So Christ just means anointed. One way you can read that is people using the name of Jesus to validate what it is that they're telling you. So if somebody is telling you that, the next world leader is very likely going to be Middle Eastern or Muslim or Islamic, that's just common sense. You don't need special knowledge to see that. And you can even get that from the scripture. You can get that from the visions in Daniel. There's an indication that the little horn comes from, I think, Turkey. It's pretty clear because it gives you geographies of where these of the horns. And then also a lot of the imagery surrounding the second beast in Revelation 13 is Islamic. So when they kill the two witnesses, so in Revelation 11, when they kill the two witnesses, the whole world rejoices and sends gifts to one another, which is a very Islamic practice, to not bury enemies and to send gifts to one another. They literally hand out candy in the streets. They literally send gifts to one another. I didn't think we were that far along until I saw this happen with Charlie Kirk. And with more people than I would have ever imagined would do such a thing. So now it's a lot easier to see how they would do that at the death of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. They're very hated. There are many people in the world who don't like either one of those because they torment them. All right, moving on. We got to wrap this up soon. So let me see. I'm just going to start skimming here because we're already at the 3-hour mark, and I don't like to go past 3 hours. So he's been pointing out a lot of atrocities. This has been a very busy weekend for him pointing this stuff out. Let me see if there's anything specific that we should really watch. Somali man. We're aware of the Somalis, remigration. This is simply and indisputable what has happened. Replacement level migration in London. I think Elon Musk is really pointing out the rise of the beast from the land. Starlink. This is just Saturday. I haven't even gotten to Sunday. Or this is Sunday. We haven't even gotten to Saturday yet. Let's see. AI is growing so fast, we're about to blow out Earth's power grid trying to keep it running. One of the things he's been talking about is how we're getting to how we need to use more energy in more intelligent ways because we're already maxing out our power grids. He's been talking about the Kardashev scales for the past couple of days, couple weeks, really. Starlink is the next big thing. Let's see, this is absolutely true. Fundamentally under-democratic, power-hungry people. Let's see. Raising a foreign flag is treason and should result in immediate deportation. Yeah. Syrians did this all over Europe, from Oslo to London, through Berlin, raising their flags and demonstrating. I think is what that was supposed to say. Why are they even here? The reason for fleeing is gone. Rooter home. How I know Elon is good. With Elon, it's easy. The world would be amazing thanks to him. The world will be amazing thanks to him. To know if something is wrong or evil, Kadar believes you should ask yourself 2 questions. What would happen if everyone did it, and what... let me go in here. This looks interesting. And would this negatively or positively affect the world's movement towards complexity? If everyone doing the thing would prevent or hinder a movement towards complexity, the thing is evil. If it would help, it's good. Okay. Sure. Let's see. It's an ad. Elon Musk is not a danger to democracy. George Soros is. That's true.
Il problema è che Elon Musk è, diciamo, influente e ricco, o che Elon Musk...
All right, that's in another language. This is going to be too hard to deal with. Geez, Joe Biden. What's up with him? This is 5 minutes. I don't think we want to watch this.
The original sin of slavery.
The original sin of slavery.
Today, Americans are taught when it comes to slavery, America was the worst.
The Atlantic slave trade from Africa to the Americas was different from any other type of slavery.
The United States didn't inherit slavery from anybody. We created it.
American slavery was worse because
the slaves were reduced to property. They were chattel property. No other system of slavery did that except American slavery.
That's complete nonsense.
Wilfred Riley is a political science professor and author of Lies My Liberal Teacher Told Me.
Generational slavery, like if you're the son of a slave, you're a slave, that was extraordinarily common. Slavery around the world was slavery.
Books like this, Unfinished Nation.
Yeah.
Slaves in Africa were kept unfree only for a fixed term.
No, is the short answer. Most of the slaves taken by these sort of players would be either kept as slaves for their entire life or, more likely, sold to the whites and the Arabs in 2 years.
Today, partly thanks to the New York Times 1619 Project, students are taught that America's slavery was unlike anything that existed before.
We're the worst society ever. We've done things that no one else has ever done. And so,
you know, one thing that I hear quite often is the Bible says that in the end times, it'll be worse than it's ever been. Hang on a minute. they don't think it's worse than it's ever been. But when you hear people talk about like this, when you actually, number one, take into account the amount of people that are on the planet, 8 to 9 billion people, and the extreme number of people who are enslaved, just because you're not experiencing tribulation doesn't mean it ain't happening.
Sometimes there's nothing wrong with acknowledging your historical mistakes. I mean, I'm Black, Irish, a bit Native American, at least per the family lore. I mean, those are three peoples that have experienced a great deal historically. Nothing wrong with acknowledging that. But it's extremely odd to focus only on the negatives of your society and to exaggerate those.
Americans are taught that slavers caught people in Africa and shipped them here. But few are taught that most slaves were not shipped to the United States.
Between 10.7 million and 12 million slaves from Africa went to the New World. We got a little under 400,000.
Under 400,000 out of 10 million.
The extreme focus on slavery in the United States, why did that happen? One reason is that a lot of Black people survived here. Slavery was harsh, but it's a lot less harsh than clearing the Brazilian jungle.
All right, but American Blacks are at a disadvantage. They have less capital, financial and educational capital. What's the harm? And
I grew up in the South. I grew up with a lot of Black friends. That was not my experience. My experience is they were most of them were better off. I looked up to a lot of them. My mentor growing up played for the Atlanta Falcons. He was a football player. I never knew that racism was actually a thing. I never could comprehend it because it was just never an issue when I was growing up.
Pointing out how abusive white people were.
The harm is that pointing out how abusive white people were is not going to get Black Americans any more capital. Most of the problems of the modern Black community don't have anything to do with historical ethnic conflict 160 years ago.
The Great Society asked not how much, but how good.
Riley says most of the problems began when welfare began.
Crime in the Black community, every time I've tried to break this out, increased about 800% between, say, 1963 and 1993. Racism didn't increase between 1960 and the modern era. You're looking at the impacts of the Great Society, the welfare programs.
Riley argues it's better to teach the truth, that almost every society had slavery. The Aztecs, the Persians, Egyptians, Greeks, Romans, Vikings, and most of all, the Arab world.
The Arabs were probably history's premier slave traders.
Sometimes they captured poor whites from Slavic countries.
The Muslims, many of whom were dark-skinned or even black, took so many blonde slaves out of this region that they gave the word slave to the global slave population.
Many slaves were forced into harems.
Sexual slavery was very much a part of slavery. Like if your group was defeated in war, the men would probably just be killed or they'd be sold as farmhands. The women would often be sold as harem girls or prostitutes.
More than 1 million Europeans were enslaved, but Muslim slave traders took more people from Africa.
The Arabs targeting Africa took out about 17 million people.
The British and then the Americans were the rare people who moved to abolish slavery.
So yeah, the British Navy, in a story almost no one now knows, sank something like 1,600 slave ships. It freed 150,000 people that were enslaved at the time.
Because the Brits objected for moral reasons.
Yeah, they'd had enough of it.
Saudi Arabia only abolished the slave trade relatively recently.
Well, that's another inconvenient fact, right?
The Global Slavery Index.
Whoops. All right, I'm going to end that here. I don't think we've heard enough about slavery. Clearly, it's still going on. It's been a problem forever. Let's see. Slavic member of the EU, Milan Mazurek, spoke out against the European Parliament for openly allowing violence against white people and only white people. Interesting.
We are constantly hearing from you in this room how on Black Lives Matter, how Jewish lives matter, how Palestinian lives matter, and I completely agree with you. I don't have any problem when you are saying that. But I will say something what many of you will have a problem with. And I will say it loudly and openly. White lives matter. Because right now, white people are just a tiny minority in this world, and white people are the most hated group in the whole world. Everything is allowed against white people. You can openly spread hatred and racism against white people. You can openly call for a violence against white people and nobody will ban you from social networks. Nobody will prosecute you or put you in jail for that. Nobody will prosecute you and trying to destroy your life because doing something like that. And that's why I consider it very important to repeat that for you as a white man.
Children, let's see. It's 3 minutes. Children should be proud that whites in the West ended slavery worldwide, which had existed for thousands of years. I don't know if I'd say that it's actually ended. There's still slavery today. I don't want to get drawn into this.
Why don't schools teach the role the British and the United States of America played in ending slavery? Every school teaches about the transatlantic slave trade, but they don't teach about the trans-Saharan, the trans-Indian, and the Ottoman slave trade. And the trans-Saharan slave trade lasted for over 1,000 years, enslaved 9 to 17 million people, and didn't fully end until 1981. The trans-Indian slave trade lasted for over 1,000 years, enslaved 4 to 10 million people, and ended in 1897. The Ottoman slave trade lasted for 600 years and didn't end until 1924, with 5 to 10 million people being enslaved. But the transatlantic slave trade only lasted for 400 years and ended in 1888, which means it ended well before the other 3 slave trades, because Thomas Jefferson banned the transatlantic slave trade in 1807, the same year that the British banned the transatlantic slave trade. And Britain didn't just ban slavery, they put together an elite fighting force for the purpose of ending the practice altogether. The elite naval force.
I guess he's talking about slave trading, not that slavery in and of itself has been completely ended. We'll just go with that for now, since we're short on time. So I love how the Third World Caucus of the Democratic Party are gray race communists here in the U.S., but they're blood and soil nationalists in their home country. Yeah, interesting. How can we keep bureaucracy from taking over space colonies? Constant exploration. Bureaucracies are slow to take time to form strangleholds on society. Space colonists need to spread humanity far and wide. Hilarious. Sport Starlink. I love Gadsod.
Hi, everybody. This is Gadsod. I'd like to spend a few minutes offering you a quick primer on history. Here we go. You ready? There's a river. On each side of the river, there's a tribe. Tribe A looks at all the resources of Tribe B with envy, and it covets them. Same exact machinations are taking place from the perspective of Tribe B looking at the resources of Tribe A. And the men of each tribe has to engage in the following calculation in deciding whether it makes sense for them to go ahead and attack the other one. Would we be able to attack them and take that which we covet? If yes, go for it. If not, best wait until the time is opportune for us to do so. The reason why neither tribe consistently goes to war with the other one is because each of the two tribes knows that there are violent and aggressive men that would not take well to the members of the other tribe coming after them.
Yeah.
Now imagine that you have a first time to ever see reality whereby the members of Tribe B have convinced all the members of their society that nothing could be more laudable than to never respond in any survival instinctual way, irrespective of what Tribe A does. If Tribe A comes to steal your children and rape them, it's better not to attack them because that would be phobic. They want to rape your women, don't attack them because it's phobic. They want to take over your society, don't fight back because it'll be phobic. They wish to urinate on your culture, your heritage, your religion, your civilization. Don't fight back because that would be phobic. From the perspective of Tribe B, nothing is more objectionable than to invoke your sense of survival instinct in protecting your women, your children, your civilization, your accomplishments, your heritage, your religion, your culture. It doesn't end up too well for the members of Tribe B. When Suicidal Empathy comes out, and it will be coming out soon, I hope that you will all pre-order it. Take care, everybody.
Very good point. All right, I think we're getting pretty close to where we should end this. I don't think we're going to make it through everything he's posted since Friday night.
We're in Texas today, joined by the one and only Elon Musk.
Is this live?
No.
Who came up with these questions? I gotta think about this for a second.
You haven't thought about this in a really long time.
I haven't thought about it at all, really. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Oh man, we're causing trouble here.
You are. You're very good at that.
Guess that's a promo for her podcast. Let's see. Westerners suffer from what I coined as a lack of cultural theory of mind. I have an entire chapter on this phenomenon and suicidal empathy. She's a monster, truly. If real Donald Trump wishes to save the U.S., he must engage in very muscular responses to such folks. Yeah, and he's the guy to do it, too. And Elon Musk agrees. Peace through strength. An armed society is a polite society.
As soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually have the truth debated on their platform, it forces the other platforms to allow things to be more truthful, to not censor, because their censorship becomes glaringly obvious.
Yes. Yes.
And the best thing I found as a rebuttal, like if there's a hoax, is just go to the source material. Right. If somebody thinks Trump said that we should put Liz Cheney in a firing squad, I'm like, let me send you a link to X so you can watch his video. That's the best way.
Yes.
Don't take my opinion for it. Don't take anyone's opinion for it. Go to the source material.
And community notes.
Yes, and community notes.
Community notes
awesome.
is the best.
It's awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Because everybody gets checked.
Yes, including me.
Yeah.
And with community notes, all the software is open source and all the data is open source. So you can recreate any given note independently.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Total, absolute transparency in every way. Sometimes I get asked like, "Oh, Elon, can you remove a note?" Mostly by the left, but sometimes by the right. I'm like, I don't even remove notes on my own account. Nothing. And by the way, everything is totally open. So if I did that, it would stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Immediately. Like, it's not going to be subtle.
That is the best counter to misinformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, let everybody look at it and say, okay, here's what the actual facts say.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The counter to misinformation is better information.
Not just that, but having it checked in real time by the community. So you have millions of people that can go over it and debate whether or not this is true or that's true.
Yes, and like I said, like the best way to understand the truth of things is don't take anyone's opinion for it. Look at the source material. It's like, look at what someone actually said, look at what someone actually did, look at the real videos of the situation, and then you'll know what's real.
Amen. That is probably a good place to end because we've been going for 3.5 hours. There's definitely more. I'm going to continue this offline. And if there's anything that
as soon as any company steps out of line and is willing to actually,
if there's anything that I have to share, I'll either share it on the timeline or I'll work it into tomorrow's show. But yeah, I mean, that's really that's the key to getting to the source, or that's the key to getting to truth, is go to the source as much as you possibly can. And that's one of the things I see with a lot of these false prophets who make claims and visions and dreams. Either one, they're using hot reading and cold reading. If you've never heard that term before, go watch YouTube videos on cold reading and hot reading techniques. You'll see the exact techniques that a lot of false prophets use. For example, you'll hear a lot of them say, "Oh, I'm getting something about I saw this vision. It was somebody who looked like he was a portly fellow, He had blonde hair. He was flying an airplane, and he was really struggling to keep that plane in the air. Like generic stuff that could apply to anybody, not specifics. And then if anything ever happens that fits that description, they can come back and go, see, I prophesied that this thing came to pass. Another one is they use the law of probability, which is there are names and commonalities among people. So like, there's more names that start with M than any other name. So they'll say like, I'm seeing something about somebody whose name starts with M. Well, there's a lot of people who that could apply to. So it's very generic and not specific. One that I've heard before is I'm getting a sense that there is a conflict with an animal. Do you have any fighting or arguing, or any situation with an animal or a pet? Well, most people have pets, and a lot of people deal with problems with pets. So you're going to land on somebody that has in that situation. So these are called hot and cold reading techniques, and they also use what's called Barnum statements, which was coined from P.T. Barnum and Bailey, the circus, to where there are literally techniques that people use that will cause you to think they're reading your mind. Go watch those videos and you will learn a lot about false prophets. I'm telling you, there are a lot of false prophets that are making claims and they seem to come to pass, but all they're doing is implementing these techniques. They're lying to you. Elon Musk makes a very good point to where if you want to know the truth, go to the source subject. Go to and this is true for studying the scripture. This is true for what people are saying about the end times. Show me the money. Show me the data. Show me the proof. A lot of people use dreams and visions and special knowledge because they need your validation. They need your glory. They need your worship. I came out of a cult. I dealt with this kind of mentality for 20 years. People constantly validating that they were the ordained man or woman of God, that I had to listen to them. I had to obey them. I had to trust them. I'm not easily deceived by that anymore, and it's something I'm rather sensitive about. Not everybody is. A lot of people go to church because they want that warm, fuzzy feeling. Well, it's exactly that warm, fuzzy feeling that causes you to be deceived. The people you want to surround yourself will tell you the truth no matter if it pisses you off or not. You want somebody who doesn't spend time trying to convince you why they're right, who just tells you the way things are. If you need to watch somebody who gives you warm, fuzzy feelings, who you think are getting special knowledge from God, what does that say about you? Why aren't you getting special knowledge about God? Why isn't he talking to you? Kind of makes you feel like crap. Well, our God is a big God. If there's something you need to know, he's going to tell you. Most people who make these claims are making them for themselves. There's Paul Fredericks is working on a book about the difference between narcissists and empaths, which is an amazing study. We're going to have him on the show to talk about his book here as soon as he works out some details. But false prophets are narcissists, and narcissists come in a lot of different shapes and forms. They have addictions that they need to feed in one way or another, whether it's validation that they were right about something, whether it's praise and glory, sex, money, power, comes in a lot of different forms. Narcissism is very much from Satan. Satan is a narcissist. Matter of fact, when you read about Lucifer, that whole section is talking about a narcissist. And the Bible, the records in the scripture are so interesting once you've studied and learned about the difference between empaths and narcissists, kind of opens up the whole Bible to you because it just makes it so simple. But anyway, I'm going to leave you there on that point. Like I said, I'll continue going through Elon's timeline here to see if there's anything else that really stands out. I'll bring it up tomorrow if there's something that I think that we should talk about. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know it was a long night, but we covered a lot of stuff. If you're new here, welcome. Hopefully I didn't offend you too much. My goal is to tell you the truth. If I've said anything wrong, by all means, please correct me, send me the information. I'm a very data-based person. There's a lot of things that I present that are based on the data that aren't even my opinion. For the longest time, I had a hard time accepting Elon Musk as one of the two witnesses. I wanted to think that it was Benjamin Netanyahu because it made more sense to be the United States and Israel. I don't really, I'm pretty convinced that Elon is probably the other two witness because of stuff like this. And the fact that they're not religious, I think, goes a long way. God is not a God of religion. It's you either have truth or you have lies. A lot of religion really revolves around beliefs, and doctrines, not necessarily revolving around truth. So it doesn't surprise me that God's two witnesses don't proclaim to belong to any particular group or denomination. They seem to be two men who have learned to differentiate between truth and error, and they are actively standing up and fighting for truth. They're fighting for the light because God is light and in him is no darkness at all. Anyway, I'm going to leave you there with that. If you like this kind of content, come visit us. Come check out the show. We're here Monday through Friday. We start at 5:30. We try to keep it under 2 hours. Hit that like button if you like the content. Make sure you subscribe to get notifications. Comment if you want me to respond to anything, or if you want to ask me any questions or make a note on the video. I appreciate it. I try to read them as much as I can and respond where appropriate. Thank you so much. God bless you guys, and shalom, shalom.